Tampa Bay Bucs Super Bowl 55 champ Shaq Barrett coming at you live for NSPN Next Gen Sports. Go like and follow NSPN for total coverage of all team and combat sports, live shows plus exclusive player interviews and unprecedented sports content creation.
Aren't you loving life in Tampa Bay? Nothing like being defending Super Bowl champs, Stanley Cup champions, American League champions. This is Outkick. Join me every Sunday morning at 10. Let's talk our teams in the hottest sports market in the country. Never too early to talk Buccaneers or check in on all the teams in Tampa Bay. It will be your best hour of sports. The Outkick Show, powered by Guerrilla Marketing. Sunday mornings at 10 on 102.5 The Bone. Sports media has evolved. Introducing NSPN Next Gen Sports, your number one source for all team and combat sports. Live shows, breaking news, esports tournaments, and interactive sports content like never before. Like and follow NSPN on our Facebook page for your chance at this month's fan giveaway contest. And tune in every Sunday at noon for exclusive video access to my Outkick Show interview. NSPN Next Gen Sports. Outkick here. I have to tell you about my amazing pampered experience at Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. First of all, I love what she did with my hair, but it's the entire experience that truly sets her apart. You walk in and chances are she's playing your favorite music because she cares. She pours you your favorite adult beverage because she asks. It's gone from haircut to a truly relaxing time only at Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. Haircuts, men and women, full spa treatments, hair color. Get it all with Daniela. Check her out on Instagram at Daniela LaCorey or book her on the Booksy app at ladybarberdaniela.booksy.com. Tell her how Keck sent you and get $10 off your first service, plus neck and shoulder massage. Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. Outkick here for my friends at Family Lawn, Pest, Handyman, and Housekeeping. I'm all about saving money and saving time, especially when it comes to maintaining my home. These people are 4-in-1. One provider for my lawn, pest, handyman, and housekeeping. I don't have to call 4 different companies, receive 4 different estimates, have 4 different strangers come into my home and write 4 different checks. I simply call Roger and Paula at Family Lawn and Pest. Sign up for a year and leave the honeydews to them. Get a free estimate. Call 813-526-8111. That's 813-526-8111. Tell them Al Keck sent you and get $250 off your first year or 20% off your first month. It's Family Lawn and Pest and so much more. Medical marijuana made easy. See if you pre-qualify for your Florida medical marijuana card free of charge, 100% risk, obligation, and judgment-free with Fast Track Cannabis Clinics of America. You're talking Tampa Bay's #1 choice for compassionate care with business professionals. Discreetly begin your road to relief by dialing 813-358-CARD or visit www.mycannabiscard.com. That's 813-358-2273. And make sure to tell them that Al Keck sent you for $30 off new patient enrollment. Ask about military and senior discounts. Fast Track Cannabis Clinics of America. With uncertainty at an all-time high, securing what matters most has never been more important for your home or your office. Prevent disaster and make life easier. Try a security and home automation system from Alarm Engineers, Inc., Tampa's trusted leader for more than 30 years. State-of-the-art security systems, award-winning monitoring, and now full-spectrum smart home solutions. Alarm Engineers, Inc. has everything your home and office could possibly need and will work with any budget. Book a free security or smart home consultation today. Call 813-948-4000. That's 813-948-4000. And get your first month free by telling them Al Keck sent you. Alarm Engineers, Inc.
Hey, Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television here live on NSPN. And of course, I Love St. Pete. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And how do we start off this show on a Tuesday night? Not a Monday night. Kind of throw me off, but that's okay. We got guests to cover it. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have Mr. Denis Phillips, meteorologist of ABC Action News, on with us, talking about the first preseason game for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yes, I know. I've heard it all week long. In fact, I've had to stay off of social media because people are completely losing their minds, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and calm you down. So we'll have him on starting off here in a couple minutes, and then we will have JC Allen of the Pewter Report returning once again to the Sports Web. And of course, we'll get your phone calls 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So without further ado, let's get the man on himself, Mr. Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. How you doing tonight, my friend?
Peter, how are you?
Doing great. And you go on social media, and you know all too well about this because you do your own show from the ABC Action News studio there, and you listen to some of these Bucs fans, and it's almost like the sky is falling. Calm them down a little bit, Denis.
Because they lost the first preseason game where the starters played what I think the over-under that you had on how many snaps Tom Brady would have, and I think I went 7. I think he ended up with 6. I can't remember, but I mean, come on. The players, the coaches, everybody could care less about these games. Game 2, there will be no starters in at all. I mean, all they're doing is looking for depth. And I find it hard to believe that anybody is upset that they took an L, at least anybody who knows anything at all about NFL football. So I have not, now I'm hearing you saying people are complaining. I've not heard that. I've actually not heard one person say, oh my God, I can't believe they lost and this and that, because, I mean, come on. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I saw it on Saturday night. I've saw it throughout the weekend, but it's like, look, they weren't going to play their starters. And of course, at the end of the day, it's all about staying healthy, and it's all about seeing some of these young players play. So we talked about Brady. He played 3 snaps. Of course, you know how it's preseason. You know how you know it's preseason, Denis? Because Tristan Wirfs gives up a sack. By the way, the whole year last year, he only gave up 1. So it's preseason. Once again, everybody calm down. But your thoughts on that preseason game with the second and third stringers? What did you see on Saturday night?
Not a lot. The weather wasn't great. The field was wet. They're not going to show you anything that they want anybody to see before the season starts. I mean, Kyle Trask did not have a particularly good game. I mean, I think it was like 4 of 14 or 4 of 15 or whatever the case may be. So, at this point in time, again, all they're doing is looking for depth. Keyshawn Vaughn didn't have particularly great numbers, although he scored. I still think he's a guy down the road because, their top 3 backs are all going to be free agents at the end of this upcoming year. So all of a sudden, if Jones and Fournette and Gio are all elsewhere, I'm surprised Fournette signed for less money with the Bucs than he could have somewhere else, because after the playoffs that he had, you had to figure he was going to get some offers from some other places, but he wanted to stay where he was, which is great. But I kind of doubt that happens again. So, Keyshawn Vaughn might be a guy that if you're a big fantasy player, maybe you stash him in a dynasty league, because next year, depending on what happens with Rojo, then all of a sudden he might have some value. But yeah, I just didn't even look into any of it. You watch the game. I was at Outback. I was eating dinner, and I'm looking up there, looking at the game, and I'm like, it's fun to watch football. It's just great to have football. But looking at anything else, there was just nothing even worth looking at. I mean, to me, I think one of the happier moments was when the former USF tight end who plays for the Bengals now came in and had a couple of plays. My son actually went to elementary school with him. So, for me, it was nice to see that. I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking for. A practice squad tight end who formerly played for USF. That was the highlight of my game. So, I think that kind of speaks volumes.
Well, I tell you about the running back situation. Giovanni Bernard caught a third down conversion. I think this is going to be one of those guys that you're going to definitely have to look at. Although we talked about this last week, don't draft any of the Bucs running backs simply because they're going to drive you crazy. And you mentioned it, Leonard Fournette probably could have gotten more money somewhere else, but he's a part of this 3-headed monster, if you will, possibly a 4-headed monster, if you hear what BA's saying about Vaughn. So Giovanni Bernard, where do you think his fantasy value lies, seeing as we know that Tom Brady loves to throw to the third down running back?
He does, yeah. And if you're playing in a PPR league for a fantasy, then, points per reception, if you're a 1-point PPR league, then someone like a Gio Bernard might be a nice little guy to grab, because you're 100% right. Brady's always done that when he was with the Patriots. No reason to think he won't do it with the Bucs. So you might be able to get Gio for just nothing, literally a throwaway late round pick. And if you have an injury later on in the season where one of your main RBs go down, then you got a guy who could come in and at least get you some points. So I agree. I will not be drafting any Bucs running backs on any of my teams, but I think that's a decent strategy. I don't disagree at all.
Yeah, I tell you, another guy that kind of stuck out to me, Denis, in this game, because I watched it. I didn't go to Outback, but I'm with you. If you're going to go to Outback, that's the place to go. They have great steak and great food and everything like that. That'll definitely take your mind off the performance that the second and third stringers had on Saturday night, because, again, at the end of the day, it's all about evaluation. But I think a guy like a Jalen Darden, he really excites me with that speed threat. You get him out in space, and even though he had 2 catches for 19 yards, you can clearly see the potential, right?
Yeah, and we've talked about special teams for him, maybe more than anything, because I don't disagree. But when you have such a deep receiving squad as the Bucs have, with everybody ahead of him, you just can't imagine they're going to get him the ball that often. There might be 1 or 2 times in the game where maybe a situation will pop up and maybe he'll break one, but with all that speed. But again, I just think, considering they brought back their entire team, I think there's a lot of analysis, and I get it. We got to talk about something when football's coming on, but there's a lot of analysis when clearly none is required. They won the Super Bowl last year, and they brought back the entire team. So where's the rocket science with this? You know what they're going to be doing. The only question is, in one game, is AB going to get a few more targets? Maybe Godwin a few more targets? Mike Evans, At the end of the day, they had the formula that worked, and it's hard to imagine it's not going to work again. Are they going to win the Super Bowl? Who knows? Luck really comes into play with that. We all know with injuries. I mean, injuries are the unhandicappable thing. You just never know if they're going to happen. But at the end of the day, they've got the same talent as last year, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel. They obviously have what works.
Absolutely. And of course, we've seen BA's attitude about being complacent. He doesn't want this team to be complacent. Are you surprised that he's not going to play the starters in the second game with the fans? It's kind of disappointing. I understand why he's doing that in the third game, because of course he wants to, get the first string starters as much work as possible. But are you kind of disappointed just being a fan from the fan aspect with basically a sellout stadium that you're once again not going to get a chance to see these starters on Saturday night versus the Titans?
No, I could care less.
Okay.
I just think if you're a real fan of this team, you're not going to worry about whether you get to a game and happen to see some of your starters in the game for 2 or 3 series. I mean, there's nothing more just horrific than having one of your starters go down in preseason because of an injury. It's just not worth the risk. And it isn't. I mean, we all know that all the teams are going to do the same thing. I mean, maybe some of the lower end teams are going to play their starters a little bit more just because they're one of the lower end teams and they want to perform better earlier in the season. But at the end of the day, it's a long season. It's even longer this year than it was last year. And even if they're not sharp in game one, it's not worth taking a chance, especially with an aging quarterback who had a bad knee last year and everything else. Why take the chance? It just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're on with Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. How's the weather? Because it's been quite busy for you lately there, Dennis. Is it about to get even busier here in the next couple of days? What's going on?
Well, no, it's pretty quiet. I mean, with the tropics are still going on. You got 3 storms out there, but they're not going to bother us. In fact, I think, we're going to be back to more of that hot, sunny weather with storms after 4 o'clock, and that'll be right through the weekend. So I do think, and I know that the Bucs and the Titans are having a combined practice setup starting tomorrow? I think tomorrow and Thursday.
Yeah.
So, granted, a lot of that's indoor. I mean, I guess the practice stuff they're still doing will be indoors, isn't it?
Well, some of it is, but don't ask BA that, because he likes to practice outdoors, of course. And he even talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how he felt like his team wasn't necessarily prepared for the Florida Heat. But yeah, I don't think anybody's prepared for the Florida Heat. We'll see how that works out.
But that is an advantage. I mean, the teams that are coming in from up north who aren't used to this kind of heat, I mean, I'm sure that's not the thing the players want to hear when there's 2-a-days. But at the end of the day, when you grow accustomed to this heat, everybody knows you do. The first summer that you live in the Bay Area, you're like, what have I done? The heat is unlike anything you've ever seen, and it's the humidity more than the heat, and it just kills you, right? But then after the first year, you kind of get used to it. So I agree. I mean, I think acclimating to that heat in the practice during training camp and during preseason, it gives them a distinct advantage once you get into the fourth quarter in some of those home games in September and early October. I really do.
And I think that's why they kind of play those 4 o'clock games. So it's not as hot as it would be 1 o'clock, but it's still pretty hot at 4 o'clock. My colleague, Leo Haggerty, thinks it's a mistake because of those afternoon Thunder Boomers there. He actually thinks there's going to be some games delayed this year. Do you think there's a chance that we could have some game delays this year at Raymond James?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it always happens. I mean, the rules vary. In fact, honestly, I've gotten calls from the NFL countless times when there's storms that are, whether within their 10 miles or 12 miles or whatever the parameters are for that game in terms of lightning, because it's all about lightning. And yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that we will have lightning in September and early October, as we always do. Is it going to be on a Sunday at 1:10 or at 4:10? Who knows? But the odds are certainly high. So, yeah, I mean, that's just part of living in the Bay Area with all the lightning. But the heat, I think it's just part of a home field advantage, having a team that's acclimated to that heat, especially, like I said, when you get into the fourth quarter and the other team starts to run down, and then maybe you start to run the ball on them a little bit more effectively because they're starting to get tired.
Absolutely. And look, there was no surprise to me when that depth chart came out, and I don't know how much it means, but the victim of volume and a Ronald Jones was number 1 on it. Of course, I think they're going to mix the carries around with the Leonard Fournette, so we should see how this is definitely going to work out. But speaking of a storm of emotion, if you will, how about a Joe Tryon? I mean, to me, he had a sack the other night. I don't know what the refs were looking at. In fact, this was probably one of the worst officiating crews I've ever seen in NFL history. And I get it's a preseason game, But to call a penalty on that kid when basically the quarterback is the running back, and even BA talked about this, the explanation was he put his body weight on the quarterback. With Tryon, you can see the speed. You can definitely see the potential. So maybe this defense is getting a little bit stronger. But first, your thoughts on that penalty call by the refs on Saturday night.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wonder if, we know for the longest times, the goals of the NFL is to protect the quarterbacks. And you're right. I mean, that is the rule. That it's a subjective thing, though. I mean, whether he had all his weight on him or not, I mean, it's still a great athletic play. And you wonder if they call that during the regular season or not. You wonder if they don't call that if he wasn't a rookie. I mean, I think all those things kind of come into play. But at the end of the day, you got to be happy with what you saw, because obviously there was a lot of, I don't want to say a ton of question marks, but the Bucs could have gone in a lot of different directions with that first pick. So I'm sure it was rewarding for the folks to see that guy is everything as advertised so far. And Tryon, even though he didn't play in the previous year because of COVID, I still think that even added more question marks, because you got a guy who, had not played and maybe wasn't quite as polished as some of the other guys who were on the board at the time. And that was a nice thing to see. But again, it's against the Bengals, and probably not the highest, the number ones on the Bengals as it is. And even the number one on the Bengals aren't really that good. So you got to take it with a grain of salt, but certainly a great start for a young guy.
Yeah, to me, look, I like Jamar Chase as a wide receiver, but I feel like they should have drafted the kid out of Oregon. I believe his name is Penei Sewell, as an offensive tackle, because you have your quarterback coming off that big-time injury. So, yeah, the offensive line, and, of course, it's from, the second to third string offensive line. Tell you what, let's go out to these comments here, read some of them. Dan says, fire with 100. Appreciate it. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons for you right there if they're fire off. There we go. Bernie Gonzalez says, Peter, Al Keck, I guess that was the commercial there. Sitton says, what's up, Peter Blake? What's going on? Sitton says, go Bucs. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons. Angela says, hi, Pete. Robert says, returning all starters, we already have an edge. I mean, I think, to me, they are the clear favorite in the National Football League to win this Super Bowl this year. And got some comments that kind of follow up with what Byron Leftwich and what Rob Gronkowski had to say today. We'll get to those in a moment. David says, my wife said, thank you, Peter, for wishing her a happy birthday yesterday. Great show. Thank you very much, David. Peter and Dennis, do you think our next stadium will be a dome because of our weather we have here? Football related, of course. We could talk baseball here in just a little bit, but a dome stadium for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, do you see it? Or once again, does it come down to really a home field advantage for the Bucs?
Yeah, I think it comes down to money these days, because the days of getting the public with tax money to pay for a new stadium, it's just not happening as much anymore. I mean, it just isn't. And granted, a lot of times it comes down to a bed tax on hotels and whatnot. But I think, being the fact that I'm a massive Rays fan as well, I would love to see if any of that money had happened, had it go toward a Rays stadium that was either a retractable roof or a dome. But then all of a sudden you get back to are you going to do that for a team that the owner's threatening to only have them here for April, May, and June, or not even that, April and May, and then in June head on to Montreal. So I had not heard. This is the first time I've heard anybody say anything at all about a new stadium for the Bucs. So I think Ray J is still a great place to play, and I just can't imagine that there's going to be the money for any kind of a stadium for the Bucs for a long, long time, unless it is funded by ownership. And I think we all know ownerships are not big into spending $700 million to $1 billion on a stadium, unless you're in Vegas.
I agree with you. And he actually says a retractable roof now. I agree. I think you can definitely have a retractable roof. In fact, I've gone on a record to say I feel like if the Rays had a retractable roof, I think that would draw more fans, because you could basically control it. But once again, I don't want to get to that, because I got a clip from Tyler Glass now on the Chris Rose podcast that I want you to check out. First, let's read the rest of these comments, and then we will get back to it here. Christopher Cole says, hey, Peter and everyone. David Nichols Jr., best sports broadcaster in the business. Appreciate that. If I can talk, that's funny. Thank you, David. Appreciate you. I think you were talking about Dennis, not me. Just joking. Sorry, that's what I meant. Retractable. And Jason says, what's up, Peter? So to continue the NFL, of course, everybody kind of loses their mind. I think it's overreaction, especially when a quarterback plays well. We talked about Trask already. Are you buying Justin Fields as the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears with his performance? 14 for 20, 142 yards, 1 touchdown. And do you feel like if he is the starter for the Bears going into the season, which we've heard it's going to be Andy Dalton, how much fantasy value, in your opinion, does he really have?
Love him. First of all, I'm not a Justin Fields fan because he was a Penn State decommitted, went to Georgia, and then went to Ohio State. So not only did he blow off Penn State, he went to Ohio State, our arch rival. So right off the bat, I'm not a Justin Fields fan. Love him. I think Darnell Mooney is going to have a huge season with Fields. I think Andy Dalton gets 1, maybe 2 starts, and then they go ahead and go with Fields. Andy Dalton, we all know what Andy Dalton is going to bring. The Bears know what Andy Dalton is going to bring. But I really think the current management, the coaching staff for the Bears are more in a position that they need to win now. And I think Fields, the fact that they traded up to get him, the fact that the Chicago, and I'm not a Chicago guy either, so it isn't like I just know a lot about Chicago necessarily, but right. Everything that I've read is that, the Chicago fan base is just ecstatic to see this guy play. So Andy Dalton, old guy, solid, but Justin Fields, and if you watched some of the game, and I actually did go back and look at some of it, he looked like he wasn't comfortable in the first half. He looked like the game was a little bit too fast for him in the first half, but in the second half, he just kind of came on. Now, granted, you got to take that with a grain of salt as well, because in the second half, he was probably going up against second or third team guys, as opposed to earlier on, he was up against first team guys. But at the end of the day, I think Justin Fields could be a really, really solid first-year quarterback. Is he going to, especially if you get him in the 10th or 11th or the 12th round in your draft, I'll be looking for him, I'll tell you that.
I tell you right now, if the Bears have a chance to make the playoffs this year and maybe go a little bit further, I definitely think Fields will give you some problem. Here's what Matt Nagy told Peter King of NBC Sports. If we play Justin early to satisfy our needs and not to do what's best for Justin and the Chicago Bears, we're going to ruin Justin and hurt the Bears. We need to do what's best for the Chicago Bears, not only right now, but we want this to be something that lasts 15 years, not 2 years. See what I'm saying? What happens is people get stuck in the moment, and they do it to satisfy themselves. I'm going to do what's best for Justin Fields, not for Matt Nagy. People can say, save your job deal. Let me tell you how much I care about that part, okay? I don't. When you start doing things to do things for yourself, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. You're dead wrong again. I'm not letting that happen. We're going to develop Justin right, and we're sticking to it. Of course, Nagy has worked with Patrick Mahomes. It took 1 year with him for the Kansas City Chiefs, which before Alex Smith, this was the start of that year. Do you feel like Matt Nagy is going about this the right way? And do you really believe him? Nagy, to me, is on the hot seat. So if this blows up in your face here, Denis, with Andy Dalton, he could be losing his job. Do you really care about a team that you may not be employed with 15 years from now?
It's a ton of good questions. You look at Mahomes, by the way, his first season, the only reason he played in that last game is because they had already been a playoff clinch and they were throwing their scrubs in there. So the only reason he got in there. In terms of what Nagy said, he said all the right things, right? He said all the right things. Do I believe him? I don't. I think Andy Dalton, first of all, is fragile. He's an older guy now. Look at what happened to him last year. I just think at the end of the day, Chicago is a passionate sports town, and I believe that the pressure will be insane to get him on the field. And I think once he is on the field, he stays on the field. I don't think it's going to be like a Tua deal last year with the Finns when, you had Fitzpatrick out there, they put Tua in, and then all of a sudden they weren't sure. They go back with Fitzpatrick. I think Fields, once he goes in, and oh, by the way, I think Mac Jones is the exact same thing for the Patriots. I think once you get them in, I think he's going to stay in. I personally think that Justin Fields will be in, I think by week 2 or 3. I really do.
I think so too. And honestly, I think Mac Jones is going to start for the New England Patriots because Bill Belichick has not ruled it out yet. And with Cam Newton, it certainly doesn't seem like he has it anymore. I just can't put my finger on it, whether it's arm strength or athleticism. it's just not there anymore. And because Jones and what you hear coming out of camp, he knows this system, you feel like you would have some type of advantage, right? Especially with Newton's year last year.
Yeah, I mean, so I was listening on a podcast to the former OC of the Patriots, and he was calling him, and again, a lot of folks will scoff at this, but he said this early on, he reminded him of Tommy, as he called him, Tommy, when he was there in his first year in the preseason. He didn't look like he was scared. He seemed like he knew what he was doing, and they love him. And Cam, Cam has always been that guy who was, if you had a running back for whoever he was the quarterback for, you'd hate it because he would be taking the ball in from inside the 1 or the 2 and be vulturing all those touchdowns if you're a fantasy guy. And he's always, sure, there was a period of time before the injuries where he could throw and run, but he's just not. And by the way, they've picked up some great receivers in the offseason. So they didn't have them last year. Well, now they do. They've got receivers, and Jones is the guy who can get those guys the ball. I think it's just going to be, I don't know if he starts the season as the number 1, but I also think it's going to happen really, really fast. I mean, the accolades out of the Patriots camp have been tremendous, that they really, really like the guy.
All right, let's go out to this comment here from Jason. Jason says, anyone worried about the team getting big heads and high expectations ruining this season? I'm hopeful, but it could happen. It's a good point. But here's what Gronkowski said today about that. It's night and day coming from where I was last year in training camp to where I am now. Just how much we evolved with the playbook, knowing the plays, knowing where to be, everything like that. It feels a lot better this year. It's a tremendous improvement. Of course, the Bucs averaged nearly 31 points a game last year, good enough for second best in the NFL. And then, of course, from day one, I just want to see how Brady sees it. This is what Byron Leftwich, who I believe, Dennis, is going to be your future coach in waiting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We all know how good Tom is. We can't call plays until you know him. You got to know him. It took some time for me to know him, to figure him out, to know what he's going to do on paper, and to know what he's going to do on the grass. So to me, that answers the question. Look, I get it. You can have the attitude of being complacent, but I feel like this offense is actually going to be better. And then you look on the defensive side of the ball with Joe Tryon and some of these kids like an Antoine Winfield, who didn't have a preseason last year, a Devin White, a Vita Vea, who, knock on wood, hopefully is healthy. To me, the sky is the limit for this team.
Yeah, and I think that's the intangible that Brady brings even more than being the general on the field. I mean, I said this after they won the Super Bowl. I mean, I agree. I wondered about the hangover factor. I wondered about if they would be ready to play. I mean, because teams don't often win back-to-back Super Bowls. I mean, they do sometimes when they have kind of a dynasty. You could argue the offensive players that the Bucs have, and for that matter, the defense that's come around, could definitely be in that conversation. Free agency usually changes that over time, but I worried about that myself. But the more I see about Brady, and I'm sure everybody's talked about the fact that in the fourth quarter, he's got his helmet on. He's still taking snaps from a rookie center who hasn't even been in there. I don't believe he would let that team get to that point. I think he gets on people who aren't given everything they have. And honestly, that might be more important of him, or every bit as important of him, at least, as a QB than anything else. Because we've said it before, that offense did not win the Super Bowl for the Bucs last year. In the playoffs, the defense, in my opinion, was every bit, if not more important, in shutting down the Saints and the Packers, at least enough to get them to get the win. I mean, the defense was incredible against the Saints. So to me, I think, you know what? They're probably not going to see a letdown, because I don't think Brady will let that happen.
All right, I like it. I like your response. I agree with you on that. Let's go out to David Nichols Jr. I'd go with the retractable roof. It's more attractive venue like that. Jason says, I came late. Are they doing this? We are doing this on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, live on NSPN. And of course, I love St. Pete. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with ABC Action News' meteorologist, Mr. Dennis Phillips, who also is definitely a sports broadcaster on this show. Just saying, the guy knows his stuff. Hopeful thinking. Christy says, love this. Love you. Thank you very much for tuning in. Our stadium just got upgraded. It's not needed. I think he's talking about Raymond James Stadium. I agree. Development is more important. Absolutely. Christopher Cole. The national media believes that if they talk about it and show the Cowgirls, they might win something. Laugh out loud. Bears can't go with Fields early for this reason, says Misador. If you go Fields and he struggles, you can't really turn to Dalton for a fresh start, as the coach has already said that Dalton wasn't the answer. By going Dalton and he struggles, Fields gets to come in as a hero. Agree with that?
I mean, I do. I just don't think it's going to take long for them to realize that Dalton's not going to be the answer. And I still think injuries are a real issue. I mean, he was out so much of last year with injuries. He's an old guy. And, it just seems that whether it's an injury or whether it's something else, I still think he'll be in week 2 or week 3. That's just what I'm sticking with.
All right, let's go to Jason. Ray J is a staple of the NFL. I don't want a new stadium. Al Bushman says, is Denis wearing the same hoodie from last week? He does, because it's rule number 7. And what is rule number 7, Mr. Denis Phillips?
As I have this hoodie on, I do wash it twice a week, but yes, I do wear it on all my live broadcasts. Rule number 7 is don't freak out unless I'm freaking out. We're fine. It's something that we use in hurricane season, and absolutely. And you can actually get these hoodies, wine glasses, beer mugs, all sorts of stuff on teespring.com, and we donate the proceeds for the Children's Miracle Network in Feeding Tampa Bay.
All right, good stuff there. Great calls. Do you think Griffin is cut in the plan to groom Trask under Brady? I agree they could be better. The line allowed a sack in game 1 with starters. That concerns me. I mean, to me, Griffin had a really bad game, 4 for 7, 2 interceptions, really bad decision-making. But honestly, Denis, he was the odd man out with the Trask getting drafted in the 2nd round, right?
Yeah, it's true. And again, you just wonder, because he's not throwing to the number 1 guys. So it isn't just the QB, it's everybody around him. It's the line, it's the receivers. I just don't think you can make an accurate representation about how someone's doing. But I agree with you 100%. Kyle Trask, I mean, even though Trask did not have good numbers, that seems to be the way everybody's thinking, that he is the heir apparent. And Tom Brady's taking him under his wing and all that stuff. And, we'll see. We talked about before the Bucs even drafted him that there were a lot of questions about Kyle Trask. There were a lot of questions about his arm strength. There were a lot of questions about his mobility. And from people who I know and respect their knowledge way more than I'll ever know about potential players and draft picks, he was never high on a lot of lists. So, they got him hoping that maybe he might turn into something in a few years. But certainly he's got a lot to learn, and he's got the time to do so, hopefully, right?
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. Let's go out to Al Bushman again. Bears should start Fields week 1, so he agrees with you. Thank you for answering my questions. Love you guys. Good to be back in the football season with you all. Again, we're going to have JC Allen, a Pewter report here in just a few moments. Who is the Bucs' biggest competition in the NFC South? Ernie says. Who do you think, in your opinion, Denis, is the biggest competition? Is it still the Saints, or is it somebody like the Panthers, possibly with the new quarterback and McCaffrey back in the fold?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely the Panthers. I think the Saints are going to be horrible this year.
Wow.
Horrible.
I like it. Let me fire those cannons.
I think the Vegas over-under on wins for that team is 8.5 or 9. I mean, what does that tell you right there? That Vegas has them as a 500 or a sub-500 team. So is there anybody out there with a Michael Thomas who's hurt, with no Drew Brees, with Taysom Hill, who brings something? But if you remember, whenever Taysom was in the game, Kamara disappeared. And Jameis, obviously. I don't know. I think the Saints are going to tank this season. I think Sam Darnold is going to show that his issue was that he was playing for the Jets. Mm-hmm. And I think that run CMC, the guy last year, his injuries weren't injuries that are ones that you're worried about are going to be recurrent. So I think he comes back, and I think he is the number 1 fantasy. If I had the number 1 pick in fantasy, it would be run CMC all day long.
More likely of a comeback here, CMC or Saquon Barkley, if, of course, Barkley is healthy. I know you're a little bit biased to this because you're a Penn State guy, so go ahead. You're on the clock.
No, I am biased, but I'm. You know what? I have a brand new dog. I wanted to name him Barkley. And I was vetoed by the family. But Saquon, as much as I love the guy, as strong as he is, he's been injured now 2 straight seasons. I mean, apparently everything in camp is coming back good, but I think McCaffrey will be the number 1 fantasy football this year in the NFL. I don't think there's any question, and I'm not even sure Saquon is going to be the full-time back to start. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that McCaffrey's the guy.
All right, let's go out to the comments, and then we'll get you out of here. Gio will be the James White of the offense. Agree?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the analogy that I've been using. Brady loved White when he was with New England, and I think he'll probably love Gio in the same capacity. I mean, boy, just add more depth to that team and to that offense. I mean, Brady Brady loves to throw on the flat. He loves checkdowns, and with all the offensive weapons they have as receivers, I'm not sure he'll need to that often. But on third down, he's a great back to have. I think he'll flourish in that role.
Al Bushman, rule number 8: don't wear the same hoodie twice. I got something for you. How about that? Al Bushman says, need fantasy football advice. We got it right here, but I'll let you plug it. The FU Dogs pod. I don't know. I got Dennis Phillips here, so I think I'm good with that, but I'll check it out. Saints are going to get owned. Panthers are definitely under the radar. I agree, Dennis. Jason says, who other than the Bucs do you think is the top team to worry about? In the NFC, I guess, I suppose.
In the NFC, yeah, in the entire NFC. I mean, you got to think the Packers are going to be there again just because. But do you really think that Aaron Rodgers is going to have the same kind of year that he had last year? It's kind of hard to think that he would, but at the same time, does he have a chip on his shoulder? Does he want to prove that he is the guy that can pretty much dictate whatever he does and show up when he wants to? I mean, I clearly think that the Packers are probably the other team to beat. That's the way I see it right now, at least.
All right, good stuff there. Good stuff, Jason. Let me go ahead and play this clip because I know you're a baseball fan. This is from Tyler Glasnow on the Chris Rose podcast. Here we go.
And like most young people live in Tampa, nobody wants to come over the bridge and sit in traffic for 3 hours, or not that long, but like it's just not like by Amalie in Tampa. Like there's a really good market and a lot of young people there. And if we were around there, I guarantee the games would be like jumping.
That's where
crazy.
The Lightning play.
Yeah, and like by the Bucs stadiums in Tampa, it's just easier to get around over there. But like St. Pete, like that bridge, it's just so, and like the area around it, it's a lot of one-way streets. It's really a tough place to go in and out of. But it really is getting a lot more fans recently. Like we'd have a couple like Monday through Wednesday series against like the Orioles, and it's actually got a good amount of fans, like compared to what it normally is. And our TV market's great.
All right, welcome back to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Agree with those comments. Of course, this follows the attendance 5,460 on a Monday night versus the Baltimore Orioles. You know how I feel about this. Is Tyler right about this? Should they move this stadium to Tampa? My thing is, if you move it to Tampa and everybody wants it moved there, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, my question is, aren't you broadcasting on a St. Pete channel of some sort?
Yes, I love St. Pete.
So I'm not even going to get involved in that part of the conversation. But I will tell you, if you just look geographically, what do you have 5 miles? Well, no, I guess it's on the other side. But I mean, in terms of season ticket holders, I think everybody's heard the number of season ticket holders within 10 miles or 15 miles of where that stadium is located is by far the lowest of any stadium in all of Major League Baseball. I mean, simply put, you can make the argument if the stadium was more centrally located. I mean, I was all way back when Rick Scott was elected governor. I kept thinking the one thing that we were going to have is they were talking about that bullet train from Orlando to Tampa, a 30-minute ride, and have that thing drop off right in front of the stadium, which they were talking about the fairgrounds. And that money was done. It was set by the government, by the federal government. And Rick Scott came in and nixed it and said we didn't want to do it. And so that really bummed me out, because not that I wanted to necessarily move the team, because, by the way, I've been a season ticket holder from the Rays since day one. Although I will admit I let him drop when they traded Longo, because that was just the last straw for me. But regardless, it just makes sense that more people are going to be drawn. And Tyler mentioned about how Tampa is an up-and-coming city. Well, yeah, you can thank a lot of people, and Jeff Vinnick is one of them, because now that is not a town that just seems to be a ghost town most of the time. My son, I've got 6 kids, and one of my sons, who's 24, wants to move to downtown Tampa because it is a great place to be. Now, he will also say that St. Pete is too. So both areas are really up and coming. But at the end of the day, it just makes more sense. If you're in Tampa, somebody might drive 45 minutes to an hour away if you're in the outskirts of Orlando. But if you're driving an hour and a half to 2 hours away to get to St. Pete, I'm not so sure people are going to do that. So, hey, I think it's a pipe dream anyway. I hate to say it, but at this point in time, you hit the nail on the head. Who's going to pay for it? And at this point, it's very, very clear that the Rays are not going to pay for whatever's out there, or certainly not going to pay for much. They're more interested in splitting the season with the Montreal team. So I've lost a lot of hate. And truthfully, I've lost a lot of interest in it as well. I love the team. I watch pretty much every game, but I'm just sick of hearing posturing from politicians and ownership saying what they can and what they can't do. And let's just try to get this team to move to Montreal, and maybe that'll spark folks to take it seriously more. I'm just kind of over the politics of it. I just want to watch them play ball because they got a heck of a team out there on the field with a lot of no-name players who are still getting it done.
You're absolutely right. I agree with you. And I feel like if Jeff Vinik or the Glazers were the owners of this team and they were located in St. Pete, I feel like you would have more fans. But the conditioning by this owner to, like you said, cut fan favorites, and I get it, it's a baseball decision, but fans don't understand that. They don't understand getting rid of Joe Madden for basically $1.5 million so you can go and win a World Series with the Cubs. They don't understand getting rid of a fan favorite like a Ben Zobrist and the David Price who go on to win World Series. They just don't understand that. And even though you make a World Series appearance, how many have you won? The Marlins won 2. The Arizona Diamondbacks won 1. You won nothing, and you still want a new stadium. The difference is those ownerships of the Bucs and Lightning basically don't say anything. They just put it on the field. They leave it on the field. They do everything they can. When the Rays are a $100 million ball club, let me know, because I think that's when they may win a World Series. In fact, the last 10 years, there's only been one team that's been close to under 100 million. That was the San Francisco Giants, I believe, in 2013, 97 million. Every team in the last 10 years has been over $100 million. So when they get over $100 million and win a World Series, then maybe we talk about getting a new stadium. Denis Phillips of ABC Action News, go ahead and promote yourself.
Well, I appreciate it. And just one little follow-up on what you just said. I mean, there's no shame in losing to the Dodgers. The payroll is over $300 million.
Sure.
I mean, baseball is baseball with no salary cap. And when you've got a pitching staff like the Dodgers have, and Kershaw has been hurt, it's really tough to find a way to win a series like that. And the Rays played incredible baseball last year. They're playing incredible baseball this year. Losing Tyler Glass now, huge, huge loss, because in a 7-game series, he potentially could have gone 3 out of those 7 games if he went 1-4-7. And losing him for the season is just, devastating in a playoff series. But at the end of the day, this team with guys that most people had never heard of prior to them getting on a little bit of a roll has been amazing, including that pitching staff too, and losing Charlie Morton, and losing Glass now and whatnot. So, major props. It's the way the Rays have to play. They trade their studs and they get prospects, and those prospects have done really well, like Wander Franco and some of the guys that a lot of people, except for baseball fans, like Randy Rosarena, when they got him from the Cardinals. Cardinals fans weren't happy about it, but not a lot of other people had really known about it. So props to them for doing it their way. It's refreshing to see it, but at the end of the day, it's still tough to beat the Yankees of the National League. And the Yankees and the Red Sox are now both teams that the Yankees don't spend as much money as they used to. Back in the Steinbrenner days, they did. The Red Sox kind of took over that in the last decade to 15 years. And it's kind of irony of the ultimate irony that the Rays' previous GM is, of course, Andrew Friedman is now the GM for the Dodgers. And the guy who was known for getting it done with metrics and doing more with less is now the guy who's just opened up the checkbook and can buy anybody he wants to and stacks that team. So we'll see how it plays out. As for me, Chief Meteorologist, I'm here 5:36 and 11 on ABC Action News. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And again, rule number 7, as I said, we have the rule for hurricane season, and with our merchandise, wine tumblers, whatnot, proceeds go to all the local charities. So you can find us on Etsy, looking at rule number 7, or you can find us on Teespring, looking at rule number 7 as well.
All right, good stuff. Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right, my friend?
Thanks, Peter. Have a good one.
See you next week. There you go. Always great conversation with my friend Denis Phillips about baseball, about football, around the NFL, fantasy football advice. We got you covered here on NSPN. And, of course, I love St. Pete. I feel bad because my buddy there, JC Allen of Pewter Report, I told you he'd be on 9:30, but I also tell you it's the flow of the show. If the show is going like that, we're getting comments in, I got to keep them on, and it's Denis Phillips. But JC Allen, of course, you know you've got all the time in the world here on the Sports Web. So without further ado, let's go out to JC Allen, Pewter Report, big timer. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. And how do we start this off there, my friend? Mister, what happened on Saturday night with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers losing their first preseason game?
Man, first of all, thanks for having me on. And I just had to bust you for a little bit in the backstage area, but
it's so funny.
it's a preseason game. Pretty much keys to the game: don't get injured. And they did lose one player, Cedarius Hutchinson, who was an undrafted guard, got one of the most highest guarantees in the undrafted free agent process, rather. And you lost him. He was competing for a backup spot on the team, but he's on IR, so he'll be back next year with the team, which is good news. But yeah, I mean, mission accomplished. No one else got hurt. No one got injured. So as for winning or losing a preseason game, I'm not too worried about it. But definitely a lot of things that they can take back and rewatch the tape and learn, especially the young guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I take out of this whole situation with them losing 19-14. But I got to go back to BA's comments. Probably the worst tackling experience I've seen in a long time. In fact, he went as far as to say some young guys put some embarrassing stuff on tape. And, of course, we saw some of the cuts today. John Franklin, I believe the third of that show. And I'm trying to think. Last Chance U, of course.
Probably Last Chance NFL, too. I don't know if he'll be back.
I mean, it's a sad story because you look at him and you see the potential and, possibly playing quarterback and then cornerback. And it didn't necessarily work out because he couldn't pass his physical. Were you surprised by any of the cuts today?
No, not really. It's funny because I was actually writing a story when Saturday they released a bunch of players. So I was like, my 5 predictions of who's going to get cut. It was literally a second away from being published, and the Bucs put out the 3 cuts. So I had to kind of scrap that. But as for John Franklin, he tore his ACL last August in camp and hasn't returned. Didn't take part of any offseason, didn't take part in any of the training camp sessions at all. And he was listed as a wide receiver with the Bucs. And even with releasing him, they're still 10 deep, 11 if you count Justin Watson, who's on PUP and will probably remain there for the season. I don't even know if he's going to come off of that after his knee surgery. And then Donnell Stanley, the old adage, can't make the club from the tub, right? And, with him missing that game, he was taking all the second team reps at center. John Molchan, undrafted guy last year who actually made the 53, got put on IR, then reverted back to the practice squad. After 3 weeks, he took all the snaps at center, and apparently he put enough good tape on for them that they really liked what he could do. Robert Hainsey should be back. That gives you 3 centers deep. Plus Nick Leverett can snap a little bit. He was seen pre-game snapping to Ryan Griffin, so he's got some experience. Aaron Stinney, Ali Marpet. Now you're not going to put those guys in a game. Maybe Aaron Stinney might take some snaps in the game. But it's just more about, hey, we need some more depth at this position, at that position. They brought in a tackle today. I forget his name, but I believe he was with the Colts last week. Mm-hmm. I can get that for you in a minute. So it's just about being healthy. And if you're not healthy, both of those guys haven't, Franklin didn't practice at all training camp, and Donnell Stanley hasn't practiced in a week. And you're just not going to make the team like that.
Absolutely. We got JC Allen of Pewter Report here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, here live on NSPN. Of course, I love St. Pete. I tell you what, let's go out to BA's comments and how, in case you missed it, how he's going to play his starters on Saturday versus the Titans here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Here we go.
I think looking at the 2 practices as good as I know how they'll go, physicality-wise, we probably won't play any starters. We'll just play that by ear. My plan right now is to play a significant amount in that ball game because we don't play for 2 weeks after. And I know our guys don't want to hit each other for 10 days. So yeah, we'll probably play more than that game than any.
All right, welcome back to the Evolution. Are you surprised by his comments? I think it's a little bit disappointing to Bucs fans, but at the end of the day, JC, it definitely makes sense the way they're going about it, right?
Yeah, well, it was always gonna be interesting to see what they would do and how they would treat these preseason games going forward. We know before last year, there was 4 preseason games. Well, because of the 18th game, they've cut it down to 3. So really, how are they going to attack these preseason games? Are they going to treat the second game as a third game, or are they going to treat the third game as the third game and just not have the fourth? And you heard BA's comments there. They're going to have a physical practice with the Tennessee Titans, and you're going to see a lot more. The coaches are going to learn a lot more from those joint practices, most likely than they are going to game. A lot of situational work, stuff like that. The thing that you need to learn from this, and again, this is a starting group. There's not much they need to learn, not much they need to put on tape, but really it is. It's about, protecting, as Jason just said, it's protecting the starters. You want to make sure that those guys are good. The fact that they're going to use the third game as a normal dress rehearsal third game without that, normal fourth preseason game was a little interesting to hear. He made the comment himself. They're not going to be able to play a game for 2 weeks. They're going to get sick of hitting each other. So, as a fan, if you're going to the game against the Titans, expect a lot of Gabbert, Griffin, and Trask. You probably want to see Brady. And if you were a fan at the Cincy game, you got 6 plays of Tom Brady, and that was it. So you're probably upset about that too. But I mean, if you're a fan traveling to Houston, you're going to get a lot of the starters. So before the season starts, but it makes a lot of sense. Get the guys out there, give them, a lot of situational work, hit against a new team this week, keep them off the field, keep them safe. And then for the third preseason, get some, make sure you're knocking some of that extended rust off and keeping them fresh to go in 2 weeks against the Cowboys with the home opener.
All right, makes sense here. Let's go out to the web heads. Let's read what Jason has to say. Tampa Bay gets another sport. So let's go out to Taylor Jean. I think Uncle D would agree that you still owe me an iced coffee. I don't know if that's you or me. Maybe it's me. Hurricane Charlie. Sandra Nagel says, watching the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area, the Sports Web with I Love St. Pete. And, of course, NSPN, my agent, of course, my beautiful mother right there tuning in as always. Definitely go friend her at Sandra Nagel on Facebook. David says, Mr. Allen, what player do you think is going to sneak his way on the roster for us? That's from David Moser. What do you say?
Looking at it, I really think it's going to be Jaden Mickens. And I think people are shocked about that because that would mean the Bucs are keeping 7 wide receivers. But he gives you, obviously, as a kick returner, he probably looked the best out of everybody against the Bengals. But not only that, he's been a great receiver in camp as well. Hasn't dropped a lot of balls. Has been really utilized as an outside wide receiver, and it's paid off for him. Also, he's got experience as a gunner as well. Special teams were going to make the club. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's Jaden Mickens that goes seven wide receivers there in lieu of a 4th tight end or in lieu of a 5th linebacker, outside linebacker or something like that. It all depends. Cam Gill, who was your guy last year for the second half of the season, he's been banged up for the last 10 practices or so or more. Was in a walking boot last week, shed the boot this week, but still not practicing. So it's really going to be interesting to see, how they construct this roster. I think if you look at it, there's just a few positions where you're like, okay, what are they going to do here? Who is Ross Cockrell going to be listed as the 4th cornerback, which he was in the depth chart, or are they going to maybe forego a 4th safety and just have, 5 cornerbacks and 3 safeties, or are they going to have a 6th cornerback? Instead of four safeties because Cockrell can kind of play. So the way they construct this roster, inside linebacker, what are they going to do with that? They saw Khalil Davis played the most special team snaps as on the team, and he's a defensive tackle, but he's got that speed and quick twitch. Does he take a spot of where a normal outside linebacker would be so they can kind of keep a 7th wide receiver? It's going to be interesting, but I think Mickens is probably the guy right now I'm looking at, them keeping 7 wide receivers, and it's going to be Jadon.
Yeah, and I'm surprised by that too because Jalen Darden is a guy that really showed flashes of brilliance. Also, you could use him on special teams. What did you see from the young kid? And with all that being said, not playing the starters this week, do you think he's going to get more opportunities to play against the Titans on Saturday night?
I don't know if he'd get more opportunities than he did last week because the starters only played for one series. He's definitely going to get some opportunities and going to be back there fielding punts, back there taking kicks. I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, rookie, he's had some rookie things, still with routes. BA said that he was doing a lot of hand fighting instead of just utilizing his speed. We know how quick he is off the line. You can burn some of the top corners on this Buccaneers team. You can burn some lack of a word, Jags, just a guy on, against the Titans or something like that. So who have a questionable cornerback group anyway. So I think he'll get plenty of opportunities. But BA also said he wants to see Scotty Miller back there returning punts. So he'll get some work. Jaden Mickens will continue to get work. Keyshawn Vaughn will continue to get work, who fielded, I think, 2 kicks last on Saturday. So just a variety of guys getting back there. He said it this week. He doesn't really need to see what Jalen Darden can do. He's got enough tape on him in college. He's really, comfortable with him. Although Jalen Darden did muff a punt today. First punt we've seen on the ground. Scooped it up real quick, but still it was just, a little bit alarming to see. Not alarming because it's practice and it's whatever. But, just getting a better grasp on that ball, showing more concentration. But I think he'll be fine. I mean, this is a guy who literally can't play with the threes and barely plays with the second unit because he's just too good to go up against those corners. He's just, as a rookie, he's already roasted veterans like Antonio Hamilton and Herb Miller and Nate Brooks. So he's got to go up against Dean and SMB and Carlton Davis in practice, which is just going to make him even better.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what's the latest on this injury situation with the Jordan Whitehead now with Tanner Hudson wearing a brace? What's the latest on this Buccaneer injury situation going into this Titans game on Saturday night?
Jordan Whitehead won't play. He's day-to-day, as is Robert Hainsey, the rookie center from Notre Dame. Bruce isn't going to – he said it the first day of practice, I'm not getting into injuries, so we don't really know what's going on. Hainsey has been out there during 7-on-7s and taking some snapping the ball. There's no contact in 7-on-7s. It's just linebackers and cornerbacks against tight ends and wide receivers and running backs. So he's not getting, risking any further injury other than just snapping the ball. So it's I don't know what's going on. It's probably not an upper body. Maybe probably a lower body, maybe a groin. I'm speculating here. I don't want to say that I know anything, but hopefully Hainsey will be back soon. And then releasing Donnell Stanley today, before this game where he said the starters aren't playing and you only have John Molchan as a guy who's really going to be your snapper. I think he'll be back sooner rather than later. But again, that's speculation. As far as Tanner Hudson, news to us. We noticed them out there in a wrist brace, and that's something that we'll continue to monitor. He is, if you're one of the believers that thinks the Bucs will carry 4 tight ends, he's in competition with Cody McElroy, and that's going to be interesting to see if that will delay or stunt his development in that race. And again, Jordan Whitehead day-to-day, we have no idea what's going on. Raven Green, same thing. No idea what's going on with him. He's missed a handful of practices as well.
Yeah, and even Bruce said today, I believe he said yesterday that he didn't want to play all his starters on the offensive line. So you already have injuries to that offensive line, so it makes it kind of a complicated situation. Tell you what, you want to take some phone calls? Let's go ahead and take a phone call. Rob from Clearwater, welcome to the Evolution, leading it off tonight. You're on with yours truly, along with JC Allen, a Pewter Report. You got a question about the Bucs? Come on, don't hit me with anything from left field now. Come on, ask a Bucs question.
Yeah, Pete, I was wondering, are the Bucs thinking about maybe going after Tim Tebow?
No, not a chance.
Here's what I got for that right here.
Shut up!
That's what I got for you on the Tim Tebow thing. What else do you want, Rob?
Kind of sounds like The Godfather a little bit.
Pete, I was wondering what you think about Carly Lloyd announcing her retirement.
Long time.
Soccer.
Love it. Women's soccer. Great career by Kyrie Lloyd. Thanks a lot for the call, Rob. As always, you don't disappoint. Putting something out there in left field. Tim Tebow, what are your thoughts on him? I mean, to me, I think there's so many people out there that are hating on the fact the guy's trying to chase the dream. I get it. He's never played the tight end position, but Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguar organization was giving this guy a chance. So are you surprised that he didn't make it on this team with the blocking the other leads.
The whole thing about Tebow was this: money, 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 money.
Like it.
Money. They sold a boatload of jerseys. A lot of people came to training camp and to that first preseason game. They wanted to see Tebow and see what he could do. You never thought it was going to work, and our friend Ray Kennedy kind of said it best, for the last month and a half, this first-time head coach Urban Meyer and this, generational quarterback that we've been waiting to see have been overshadowed by Tim Tebow, and now it's kind of the focus will shift back over to where it rightfully should be. Is Trevor Lawrence the real deal? Is Urban Meyer? How does he, translate into the NFL game after being a successful college coach? Tebow mania will always exist, especially in Florida. That wouldn't have worked anywhere else but besides Florida. Let's get that straight. If he went to somewhere else, it wouldn't have worked. Jersey sales wouldn't be through the roof. But because it was Florida, because it's Jacksonville, everyone, was excited to see it. It was never going to work. I wasn't surprised he got cut in the first round of cuts. And, best of luck to him on whatever. If he wants to go back and play baseball, if he wants to go, try to win a Masters in golf or go try to win Wimbledon or whatever his new dream is, or be a pastor. Hey, best of luck on your journey, but it's not going to happen back in football. You've had your shot. You're done. Go play arena. Go play CFL if you want, but NFL's over for you, bud.
Yeah, to me, I think it's 10 years too late. I think they could have got him when Jacksonville was struggling with ticket sales. Now you got a Trevor Lawrence. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to see Lawrence and Tebow on the goal line, see what they could come up with, but it's neither here nor there. I just don't hate the guy. I think the guy is highly successful, great college quarterback in a great system. And maybe he didn't make it in the NFL. I don't hold it against him. I'm just so surprised of how much hate the guy receives. Let's go out to the phone lines here. James from Lakeland, welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with JC Allen of Pewter Report. What do you have to say?
I have to say that I'm watching my Mets right now, and I'm beyond ticked off. I'm going to try to watch my language here.
Oh, you're watching the Mets and you're ticked off. First of all, that's a shock.
I'm telling you, the Mets have definitely have been playing a really bad baseball lately. It's a shame they were
again another shock.
Right. Well, look, I hope for Mets fans, because I feel like Mets fans are kind of like Cleveland Brown fans. They're still waiting for that world championship to come. Of course, how long has it been since the Mets won a World Series? But I feel bad for Mets fans. I want to see them win. And that start that they had, it was really impressive. But now they have kind of come back down to earth. So besides the Mets, are you a Bucs fan? What are you thinking about the Bucs this year, last year, or are you another fan of another team?
Well, as you already know, I'm a huge Jets fan. And honestly, if Tom Brady died in a fire tomorrow, I could care less. So.
Wow, that's tough. Well, look at that. All right, go ahead. So the Jets here. Right. That's what I right.
If it wasn't for the Jets, Tom Brady wouldn't exist. Okay.
What now? What now? I didn't hear.
It's true. It's true.
What did he say now? What did he say now?
I said if it wasn't for the Jets, Tom Brady wouldn't exist.
Is it Big Mo Lewis, right?
Well,
that's right.
Well, there you go.
I want to hear about, they would have figured out, later on, bull. Okay. They wouldn't have figured out anything. It would have been a thing of Tom Brady would have sat his, one on the bench, and they would have kept Drew Bledsoe, and that would have been it.
I think Brady would have figured it out eventually. I think the coaching staff of the Patriots would have figured out that Tom Brady could play starting quarterback in this league somehow, some way. With that being said, is your guy, your rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson, going to be able to figure it out this year? What did you see from him on Saturday night?
Honestly, I like him, but the thing is, they're doing exactly what Rex Ryan did with Mark Sanchez in 2009.
Oh.
As far as being conservative, but I think Zach Wilson's going to be a heck of a lot better than Sanchez was. But I like our head coach. I like the way we're going. Honestly, I think our defense is going to be phenomenal, and I think we're going to surprise some people. I
got a question for you. So you've got two wide receivers on your team, right? Second round pick last year, Denzel Mims. Second round pick this year, Elijah Moore. We've heard some very polarizing comments about how great Elijah Moore has been, but how bad Denzel Mims has looked, and that he could even possibly be on the trade block. What have you? I mean, I don't watch the Jets. I don't read about the Jets. What have you heard about those guys?
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, I heard the same thing you have. But I'm going to tell you this right now. I think Denzel Mims is going to – I think that if they were going to trade him, they would have done that already. But we'll see. With that being said, Jets actually, for the first time in a while, actually have a decent receiving corps. They really do. And the thing that I've always loved was having a great tight end, which we haven't had one in, God, it's been how many years. But
Kyle Brady comes to mind. No, not a good pick. Didn't like that over Warren. Kyle Brady over a Warren.
Dustin Keller, I think his name was.
Kyle Brady was a great blocker, but he couldn't catch with a what.
Dustin Keller? Did you guys have Dustin Keller? Is that was his name?
Dustin Keller, again, guy who could catch, who couldn't block. It was the complete opposite.
Wayne Corbett.
Hey, the last time Corbett played the Bucs, Corbett beat them, and I know that because Keyshawn Johnson that whole week was talking trash. So what I want to know is, where are you going with win total right now for your New York Jets? This new coach from San Francisco, Robert Saleh, is he the real deal? You like this defense? What do you like about the Jets? Convince me, my friend. Sell me on the New York Jets in 2021. Go.
Okay. Well, I'll go with this here. Again, C.J. Mosley didn't play last year. He opted out because of the COVID stuff. I think C.J. Mosley is one of the best linebackers in this league.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
And I think with a guy like, what do you pronounce, Sally or Soleil or whatever the hell
Robert Saleh.
Robert Saleh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's going to work out with him. Not to mention, too, again, I think we have one of the best defensive tackles in the league in Quentin Williams. I think that, again, just those two right off the bat. Now, what worries me is our secondary. I don't know what the hell is going to happen with that. I really don't.
Well, with that division, you have Josh Allen from Buffalo. You have New England, whoever they're going to start, whether it's going to be Cam Newton or Mac Jones. And then, of course, you got Miami. And the mystery is Tua going to have that progression in his second year? Or is he going to be the guy that actually admitted in this offseason that he didn't know the playbook?
Well, I'll tell you what, honestly, I think we're on the verge of having one of the, if not being the best division in football again. We were years ago, when we had the Colts in there. I'm even talking about before Peyton Manning. When you had the Colts, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Patriots, and the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you right now, it is going to be a very tough division because the Bills, no question, they're going to be tough again.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody is stupid enough to think that the Patriots are going to go ahead and not have have another crap season like they did last year, there's no way.
Right.
Belichick's not going to allow that to happen. And the Dolphins, they're an undercard.
They got a defense. They got a defense
the Dolphins have a very good team, and honestly, Tua, there's no question. He's shown his talent before, and I think he's going to be. I'm telling you, I think Miami's going to be tough, and honestly, I think the Jets are going to be tough. And the worst part, and the thing is, I hate to admit this, but I think the Jets are going to be the worst team in the division. But the Jets are still going to be tough.
How many wins? How many wins? Remember, they're playing 17 games this year, so.
I know.
6-11.
No, but 6-11. Get out of here! I'll smack you in the head. 6-11.
They'll be lucky if they get 4 wins.
Oh, see, I think 6-11 is generous. 6-8 wins with the rookie quarterback.
No way.
With the rookie quarterback,
they'll get 4 wins. They'll get 4 wins, maybe 5 tops.
All right, JC says 4 wins. You say how many wins? Over under?
No.
I love the optimism, bro, but.
Look, I know there's a lot of people out there that feel like the Jets with Zach Wilson, and they got some weapons. Corey Davis,
the running game, the real tight end.
Yeah,
Chris Turner can't stay healthy. Tyler Kroft is a question mark. That secondary, as you brought up, Mosley hasn't played in a year. You got Quentin Williams, but who else on that line? And you just named the other teams in the league that have great defenses and that are going to go up against a rookie quarterback. It's just, I think 5 wins tops.
Yeah. Going to take a couple years.
Guys, I tell you what, you remember here. Honestly, I'm comparing this to 2009 when Rex Ryan was the head coach.
Okay.
First year rookie head coach. I'm telling you, we got a guy just like that in our head coach now, And
It needs to build that defense, though.
A hell of a lot better quarterback than we did back then, by the way, too. We got more talent. I'm telling you.
You had a better defense in 2009, though.
Yeah, I definitely think you had a better defense.
You know what, tell you what, guys?
A good defense keeps a rookie quarterback in the game, and that's something that you guys are lacking. I don't disagree. I think Saleh can build a good defense. I think he's a good coach, and I think I was never high on Wilson at all, but I think you've got some good wide receiving pieces. Corey Davis, obviously, Elijah Moore is the real deal. Jamison Crowder is what he is. He's a steady veteran, but there's nobody on that team, on that offense, that really screams, oh, they're going to be able to carry the team and get the job done. And the defense, Quinton Williams can only take you so far. And C.J. Mosley, let's hope that he's C.J. Mosley, because if he's not, then you have holes at every single level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, guys. The other thing you got to keep in mind too is our offensive line is much more revamped too. Our offensive line was trash last year.
I agree with you on that, and I think the coaching is even worse. But I think it's gonna take a couple years. Although I appreciate your optimism because I've been there. You know this. We've talked before in the past, my friend. Give me the win total. Come on, give me the win total, and then we'll get you out of here. You can call back if you want to and talk more Jets or talk more football, whatever you want to talk about. How many wins?
Okay. All right, truth?
Yes.
That's serious. 10-7, we make the playoffs.
Oh, I'll tell you what. You know what? I don't know. I feel like I got to boo him, but then again, I feel like I got to fire the cannons because I kind of feel bad because I feel like there's so much excitement, new quarterback, but I think it takes a couple years. James,
leave him alone. He doesn't know anything.
Leave him alone. All right, James. Appreciate the call, man. Definitely call back the evolution of sports talk television. All right, boss?
Love the optimism.
All right, appreciate it. 10 wins. Man, really?
Man.
10 wins? I mean, look, I was kind of there, and I'll be honest, when Jameis Winston came and was playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I thought they were a playoff team. But to that credit, they went 6-10. But before Quan Alexander was suspended, they were 6-6. So who knows? Neither
I
here
heard
nor there.
COVID cases are bad here in Florida, but I don't know if they're spiking back up in New York. Oh, that's
right.
10-7's optimistic, man. But
Yeah.
hey,
I love James's optimism.
Dreamer.
Call back again. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web live on NSPN. And of course, I love St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with JC Allen of Pewter Report. Let's go out to the webheads. David Moser says, Mr. Allen, what player do you think is going? Okay, we read that one. Sorry about that. Protecting the starters is the most important. I like his call. Mickens is growing on me. David, again, do you think Mr. Irrelevant has a shot for a spot? Go.
He's third right now in the competition for the backup linebacker spot. Right now, it's KJ Britt, Joe Jones, and Grant Stewart. It's going to be really hard for him to make this team. I know that Bruce has emphasized that those backup guys are got to be able to do it on special teams, And Bruce praised him for his special teams work yesterday on his press conference and, singled him out and, said Grant had had some good special teams moments down the field. But I just don't know if that's enough. I just don't know if it's going to be enough because KJ Britt and Joe Jones, Joe Jones had the pick 6. KJ Britt had the recovered fumble. I just think those two guys are a little bit ahead of him, and Grant Stewart just doesn't have the speed or athleticism to play at this level. Will he make the practice squad? Potentially. Most likely, I think he can maybe make the practice squad. But as far as the active roster, I just don't see it happening. And it's unfortunate. Great story. Very troubled upbringing. What he's done, the charity work he's done. He's got great hair. He plays the game, with his hair on fire. He's all over the place. He's just not all over the place at the speed that you need him to be at because he's just not as athletic enough to keep up with some of these guys. He's made some plays, but a few plays in practice, but he's gotten beat on more of the plays than he's made.
And it kind of reminds me of the linebacker that was on Hard Knocks a couple of years ago by the name, I think it was Bullock. Riley Bullock. Everybody liked his hair, liked how he played and how he talked on the show. But when he got on the field, you necessarily couldn't duplicate, that production. That's how the business is. All right, let's go out to the webheads again. Britt looked good in the game. Heard a lot of great things about him. What's up, guys? Bucs time 12. JCA, how will our secondary rank this year, considering teams don't run against us?
I think the secondary is in good shape. I mean, you've got one of the top, in my mind, one of the top 10, at the very least, top 12 cornerbacks in the league in Carlton Davis. I mean, just look at the guys he shut down. You know, he's everything you want out of a cornerback, except for catching the ball. You know, if he can turn some more of these pass deflections, I think he leads the league in pass deflections since 2019. If he can turn some more of those into interceptions and become more of a playmaker, I mean, he's going to be a Pro Bowler this year, no doubt about it. And I really like Sean Murphy Bunting, his his offseason and his play during the playoffs, and you find out that he was playing the entire season pretty much banged up. You know speaking to him personally, he's got All-Pro in the mind. He wants to, that's his goal, is to become an All-Pro, Pro Bowl player. And so far he's looked pretty good in practice. Obviously you're going up against the best receiving core in the league, so you're going to get beat. He got beat today by Chris Godwin on just a beautiful catch and throw by Tom Brady and Chris. But, you know, I really like his development and his jump. He's the number 2 cornerback. He's going to be playing opposite Carlton Davis. And then Jamel Dean is you know, he's got some stuff to figure out, but I still think he's a really great cornerback. It's just, you know, I mean, everyone recounts that Giants move, Giants game where it bit on the double move multiple times. You know, if he can get some of that stuff figured out, then I think it'll be good. As far as the safety group goes, I mean, lights out. Antoine Winfield Jr. should be a Pro Bowl this year. Jordan Whitehead, if he can come back and stay healthy, is, exactly what you want in a strong safety. And if he can't play for an extended period of time, you've got Mike Edwards, who's a ball hawk. We saw that last year and is really coming onto his own too. If he gets hurt, you got Ross Cockrell, who's looked amazing in camp, probably the best safety in camp, and is also your number 4 cornerback, who, as you know, I was very high on that signing in the offseason. I thought that it was a clutch move, especially for the money and the length 2 years they got him for. And then Javon Hagan, I mean, you saw his play on Saturday. He looked really good, friend of the show. Had that interception, bobbled it while he was trying to switch arms and fumbled it, but he had a couple big hits, 3 tackles for a loss, led the team in tackles. Had a couple, those no arm type hits where he was, the play right after he bobbled the interception, he went for a big hit and kind of just bounced off the guy instead of wrapping him up. Did a shoulder tackle, but he looks good and he's been on special teams. So safety, I think you're great at. And, 5th cornerback spot, you don't want the guy playing any snaps anyways. Ryan Smith played 2 snaps last year, the entire year. So I think they're in a pretty good spot cornerback-wise, secondary. Where they'll rank, I think we'll see a few more turnovers out of them. I don't know. Top 15, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
middle of the road. I don't think they're going to be crazy turnovers. I think the front 7 causes so much pressure and disruption, that you'll see a lot of, sacks and, throwaways and incompletions. But will they translate into turnovers? It all depends on if these guys get hands or not.
You talk to the coaching staff on a daily basis. Have they told you that Hagan has progressively gotten better from last year to this year?
Yeah, I mean it's noticeable. He's lost weight, he's put on muscle. You can just see it in his play, his confidence, his swagger. Talking to Hagan personally, myself, he knows the opportunity that he has. With Jordan Whitehead being out, with Raven Green out for an extended period of time now in practice, he's got the looks and he's wrapped up that spot for 4th safety. I don't. Unless something dramatic happens, I don't think he's not going to make this team. And he showcased that playmaking ability as well in Saturday's game. Now, when he first started camp, he was playing primarily at free safety. And then he made the switch to strong safety. Now, he has experience at both back in Ohio playing in college, but he's more of a free safety than a strong safety. So he's showing them that he can play multiple roles right now, which obviously – we know versatility is key in the NFL. The more you can do, the greater chance you're making the roster. So, that's been brought up. And I think that, he just needs to show a little bit better tackling. That's the one thing Bruce said after the game. He's too good of a tackler to miss some of the tackles that he missed. So I think he's a real deal. I think he's going to make the team, and it'll be good. It will be interesting to see his progression as a pro as he continues to develop.
I'll tell you what, he can hit you, and that interception that he had. A lot of people looked at it, the fumble, but the one-handed effort was unbelievable. It's a shame he fumbled the ball. Don't look at that play. Just look at the one-handed effort, and then everything after that, don't look at it. All right, let's see here. Let's go out to Jason. Tim had a shot, and he blew it. Game over. Misador says, JCA is getting around like Madonna in the early 90s. He's everywhere. But here's the thing. The guy started out here. Don't forget that. He started out on the evolution of sports talk television. I don't care about the other platform. It's here. He started out on the evolution of sports talk television, the sports web, with yours.
Not wrong.
And I'll tell you right now, for that, I'm going to give you that.
Shut up!
Yeah, you shut up about that. More is the real deal. I think he's talking.
Shout out to Misador too. I don't know if you knew that he started his own podcast. It's Hoosier Crew with a buddy of his. I forget his name, but hey, shout out to him for taking that jump. And I listened to the first episode. It's pretty good.
And he told me the other night, he said the sports web and yours truly inspired him to that. And like I told a lot of people the other night, if this show inspires you, then I'm doing my job. Thank you very much, me. That made me feel really good. And you got to hear that sometimes. I love hearing people get inspired and love watching what I do and what we do and what we've done in the past, and we'll continue to do it in the future. The only thing about the Jets is the uniforms, because I like green and it ends there. Pooh. Okay. Jets will pull 7 wins, says Misador. Wow. A lot of optimism about the Jets. They really love this kid, Zach Wilson. Jason says another letdown season for the Jets. Jason, again, laugh out loud secondary. Jason says the best division because of not the Jets. Come on. Misador says, just so everyone is clear, the trick to winning is to have more points when the game ends. Booger McFarland. Absolutely. I love that. Let me go ahead and fire the cannons for that. Guys are asses. 0-18 Jets. Goodness great. Now, I tell you the worst team in the NFL, and see if you agree with the off-the-field drama. These are the days of our lives. The Houston Texans, true or false, the worst team in the National Football League this year?
I don't know. Let me just kind of do a rundown in my head. They could be. I'm not saying they're not going to be, but they could be. The Jacksonville Jaguars are in that conversation. I think the Jets are in that conversation. Detroit Lions are always in that conversation.
Could be the team right there.
The Bengals are in that conversation. I'm not ready to say they're the worst team in the NFL yet, because Tyrod Taylor, well, he's not great. He's not bad. They've got a great, healthy stable of running backs there. They have good decent wide receivers out there. The defense leaves a little bit left to be desired, but I think David Culley will get them in good shape. I'm not ready to say they're going to be the worst team in the league. Definitely the most drama in the league now that the Aaron Rodgers saga's over, but I don't know if they're going to be the worst team in the league yet.
Worst talent, all the drama in the
I'll know more on Saturday, next Saturday, when we watch them play the Buccaneers, and then I can come back on and tell you if I think they're going to be the worst team.
That's going to be a blowout. I'm gonna if they're going to play the number one starters versus that Texans defense, which by the way doesn't have a JJ Watt, that's going to be a blowout all day long. The Texans and Lions are the two worst teams in the National Football League. The Texans may win the first round pick because Tyrod Taylor, whoever else is there at quarterback. I'm sorry, I just don't believe it. All right, let's go out to Misador again. Zach Wilson looks like Miss Darcy from Married with Children. I'll go ahead. I'll tell you what. I'll give you this. How about this? I like that, Misador. There you go. That was creative. All right, let's go out to Jason. He doesn't even believe his own facts. That would be the caller. Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend SC. Bunting and Davis are bums. Please settle this. This guy is not very high on this cornerback and this back end, but to me, this back end really played their asses off, if you will, in that postseason, especially as Sean Murphy Bunting, right?
Yeah, we know how much you love the back end, Peter, but
Shut up!
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I already talked about these guys. Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy Bunting. I think Bunting takes a big step, and Carlton Davis, he gets his hands around a couple more of those balls instead of batting them away. He's going to be a Pro Bowler. I mean, you just look at what he did. Look at what he did to some of these wide receivers, locking them up. You know, we've seen what he's done to Julio, to DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams. You lock Devontae Adams up to 6 catches for 66 yards. That's a win in my book. I don't care who you are. I mean, the guy's one of the best wide receivers in the league. You know, you do a good job on him. Tyreek Hill, yeah, you had a little bit of safety help over the top. Doesn't matter. He's that good of a player. You look at some of the other guys that he locked up this year. I just think that Carlton Davis is one of the better cornerbacks in the top half of the league. Yeah, I mean, like I said, top 10, if not top 15, certainly top 16 cornerbacks in the league, and he's a verified number 1. And I like Sean Murphy-Bunting's progression. I think he's going to continue to have a good season this year. He looks like he is he's definitely in great shape, but looks like he's got a little bit better understanding of the defense, and he's going to be able to play a little bit more free without thinking. So, you know, he's still a young guy. He hasn't reached his ceiling. Now none of these guys have. So to say that they're bums is a little bit of a reach and a little bit of a jump too soon for me.
Yeah, he's trolling. He's always trolling, but that's okay. That's what you can do here on the Sports Line.
You can do it.
Yeah, you can be the top troll here, of course. Usually the troll king, the tribal troll, if you will, because he always wants me to acknowledge him. He's got this Roman Reigns thing going on because he's the tribal troll. Roger Shue from Newport Richie. He's usually the guy that's chiming in, but we love Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend SC. I agree with you. Davis has everything to lose at this point in this offseason with free agency coming up. He can ascend to be a top 10 corner. I think he's already a top 10 corner. People look at the Tyreek Hill game and they say, well, he got burned. A lot of corners got burned by him.
Yeah.
Definitely ascend to be a top 5 corner.
And the adjustment he made, they made in the second half, I mean, shows you everything.
Right. Absolutely. And he has an opportunity to make lots of money. Jamel Dean's a guy that nobody really talks about, but he's got all the potential in the world. We saw that versus Aaron Rodgers. So I just love this cornerback crew. Leave the man alone. At least he's a dreamer. Okay. She's Taylor talking about the caller there. Jason says, when he replaced the whole old line and has to be better. That's good. You know what? I'll give you that. Yeah. They were trash last year. This year, they're only rubbish. Okay. Jason Dahl says, poor guy, Jets, good luck. Of course, we all know what Jets means just in the season. But I do have some friends out there that are Jets fans, so I will feel sorry for you. Winston makes me dry heave when I think about him and the Bucs days. Okay. Jason Dahl, Winston on the Saints makes me smile like I won the lottery. Troy Polamalu, Bunting, absolutely. Sean Murphy, Bunting, Christopher Cole, or wide receivers are going to beat a lot of cornerbacks. NSPN, Peter, you're the man. Appreciate you. Let me go ahead and give you this. Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend. Do you think we should sign Tebow? No, and this is what you get for that.
Shut up!
Let's go out. Lions are the worst team. So somebody, NSPN Next Gen Sports Media says Lions are the worst team. They could be, but they do have Jared Goff. Who do the Houston Texans have? Again, Tyrod Taylor, Davis Mills, I don't know, Roddy Millsap. I don't know. Who cares? I don't know who their quarterback is, let alone their wide receivers. They got rid of DeAndre Hopkins for a box of balls. I still don't understand that trade. Texans have been let down from creation. Jason says, JC, do you think we can sweep the Saints this year or possibly the NFC? A lot of Saints fans on Facebook groups talking all this trash about the Saints beating the Bucs twice. But, you know, they have selective amnesia, forgetting about the Bucs disposing of them in the divisional playoff game. How do you see it this year, JC?
No, I mean, there's so much drama around the Saints team right now. Michael Thomas is out for an extended period of time. He wants to be traded. Cam Jordan, although he came in at 46 on the top 100 list for some reason, he's not the player he's been. They lost Trey Hendrickson. They lost their defensive tackle out for the first 6 games due to a drug test or a suspension for illegal substance. They lost their number 2 cornerback. They just lost their number 3 cornerback who retired. Marcus Lattimore might be suspended for the first part of the season. They brought Quan Alexander back, but he's a former shell of himself. They got DeMario Davis, who's good, but they lost Anzalone, who's whatever, but he's still a guy who was on their team. They've lost a lot of pieces on defense, and that's not even jumping to the offensive side where they lost their number 2 and their number 3 wide receiver. To probably at least a 2-game suspension for drunk driving and Taquan Smith. They lost the number 1 and number 2 tight end in Jared Cook and Josh Hill. Now they have to rely on Adam Troutman, who's unproven. And that's not even touching on their quarterback situation, which there's another question from David Mosier, 2 questions down, who I'm going to answer right now. Who do you think the starting quarterback for the Saints week 1? Probably Taysom Hill, but then it's probably going to be Winston. It's going to be a combination of both of those guys. What they're probably going to do is, what's the old saying? If you got 2 quarterbacks, you got none. And that's what the Saints have. They don't have a quarterback right now. They'll use Jameis Winston to start maybe, and then bring Taysom Hill for certain plays like they did with Drew Brees, or they'll use it as like a running back situation where they'll ride the hot hand, whoever's doing well. I don't know. Maybe they'll do game plan specific, but right now they don't really have a quarterback in my mind that can get the job done consistently or has the tools or weapons around him to get the job done. Alvin Kamara, stay away from him in fantasy because I think he's going to get hurt. They have nothing else to rely on. Don't believe me. Don't listen to me. Whatever, draft him. I may be wrong. He may go off and just be that explosive player. But for me, I'm not touching the only weapon, the only guy that they have to rely on, especially with Michael Thomas out for the first couple of weeks. They've got literally no one there to pass the ball to. They're signing guys off the street like Kevin White, who's a failed experiment or a failed top 10 pick with the Chicago Bears and has fizzled out everywhere else he's tried to go. They have nobody there. Kamara's going to get banged up, and I just think this Bucs team is too good, to lose to them 2 times this season. I think they have a better shot of losing to the Falcons or to the Panthers before they lose to the Saints this year.
Well, I don't think the Panthers I don't think the Falcons are anything to write home about, but I do think if Sam Darnold has that opportunity, I think he's an upgrade over Teddy Bridgewater. I just think the coaching with the Jets is so pitiful, and with, the pieces not around him, you have those pieces around him with the Carolina Panthers. In your estimation, Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News said Carolina is the biggest threat to this division for the Bucs. Is that what you say?
It's still a young team, still young defense, young head coach. Sam Darnold's a question mark. I haven't really seen or read much about him. I've been so focused on Bucs that I haven't seen how he's been doing in camp so far. They definitely got some good wide receivers on there. CMC's there as well. I think that this whole division as a whole, there's upsides and there's downsides to both the Panthers and the Falcons. Matt Ryan's still Matt Ryan. He's got Calvin Ridley now. He's got Kyle Pitts to throw to, Justin Gage. The running back situation is a question mark, but you have a quarterback, but you don't have a running back. On the Panthers, you have a running back, but you don't really know if you have a quarterback. Both defenses, aren't that great. I think the Bucs run away with this division. It wouldn't surprise me to see one of those rare, those usual, you drop the Patriots did it for years. They'd lose to the Dolphins in Miami, or, they lose to the Bills once, or the Jets would come up and upset them. But for the most part, I think they run this division. I don't think there's anyone that really scares me or gives me worry. I would probably put the Falcons as finishing number 2, Panthers 3, and Saints at the bottom.
Wow. All right, there you go. JC Allen, a Pewter Report. Let's go ahead and keep on going on to the questions here. So Lions are the worst team, says Blake Anthony. We read that comment. Christopher Cole says pass rush helps the secondary, and they both complement each other. I agree with that. Who do you think will be the starting quarterback for the Saints? We read that. Jason says Winston. Paulie says fire, so I'm going to go ahead and give her some cannons right there. Jason says we broke the Saints in our playoff win. Laugh out loud. I almost feel bad. NSPN, Next Gen Sports Media. I haven't spoke on the Saints much this offseason, but there is more drama coming. Just stand by, says Blake Anthony, who's got insiders. The whole situation and the preseason game the other night wasn't anything special. In fact, both quarterbacks threw interceptions. There, a lot of drama, like everybody's talking about. Michael Thomas not there.
Jameis threw an interception?
Yes. I did say he threw an interception. Yes. It's amazing, right?
That doesn't happen often.
Right. Exactly. There's a good chance the Bucs could have the division wrapped up by the middle of November, just based on the other 3 teams and their issues at this point. Does it feel like a year like that? You've seen Tom Brady and his evolution throughout his career. Does it feel like Tom is definitely on a mindset of, hitting that undefeated streak, bringing everybody back? Does it seem like that? Do you get the sense from the team being out there and around them that they could be really special in the words of maybe 20-0, like a lot of fans are talking about, or you don't see that? You don't feel that?
They'll never say it, but I mean, that's the goal. I mean, that is the goal. I mean, no one will ever in the organization come out and publicly say it, but that is the goal. They know that's what the goal is to win every game every year, but I mean, more so, I think, you just made history, right? You played in one of the toughest years with COVID and everything like that. You won the game at home, and broke history. Well, how are you going to top that? You got to do history again, and that's to go undefeated. Now, of course, I mean, luck is going to play a huge, huge part of this. Injuries are going to play a part of it, et cetera, et cetera, if they can do it. Do I think they have the talent to? Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, look at what they've brought back. Look at the team. I mean, the offense should be on all cylinders. AB's looking like Pittsburgh AB out there. I mean, I know he didn't come up with that ball, which was a catchable ball the other day on Saturday against the Bengals, but I think that'll all come. I don't see a really slow start, and usually, what we say is, the offense takes a little bit more time to come together, but the defense is ready to go, and I think this defense is going to be ready to go out the gate, especially against a guy like Mike Evans, talking and the Gravediggers with Amari Cooper and everything. I just think they're going to be ready to go. So it's going to take luck, obviously, and it's going to take a lot of focus and determination. And one thing you'll hear if you didn't see the trailer already for In the Current, Bruce was talking about, we're having sluggish second halves. We have a practice. We have sluggish second halves of practice. You're going to have a sluggish fourth quarter. And that's the main thing right now is, this heat is unbearable right now. I feel like my shoes melt every time I'm out there. It's something that you have to have a mindset, and this is where it starts, building those mentally tough teams. And I think that this team proved last year they're mentally tough, and I think that's going to be the same thing this year, and injuries are going to play a part in whether they can do it or not, but they certainly have the talent to do it.
Yeah, and again, I go back to these comments that we originally started out the show with from Rob Gronkowski. It's like night and day coming from where I was last year in training camp to where I am now. Just how much we're evolving with the playbook. I like they use the evolving word. It's good. Knowing the plays, knowing where to be, everything like that. It feels a lot better this year. It's a tremendous improvement. And, of course, again, the Bucs 31 points per game last year, second best in the NFL. And Leftwich says, from day one, I just want to see how Brady sees it. We all know how good Tom is. We can't call plays until you know him. You got to know him. It took some time for me to know him, to figure him out, to know what he's going to do on paper, and to know what he's going to do on the grass. To me, that tells you everything you need to know. You didn't know Tom Brady, and we saw that last year in the midseason where they were 7-5. You're going into that bye week, and you're like, look, you have to win every game from here on out in order to make the postseason, and they're able to do that because they changed their offense around. That's why I think this offense is actually going to be more explosive. And then on top of it, with not only Brady being comfortable and Gronkowski being comfortable and even Leftwich and Bruce Arians being comfortable, I think Antonio Brown, this whole thought process of him returning to his previous form with the Pittsburgh Steelers 4 or 5 years ago spells trouble for the rest of the NFL.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you're hitting the nail on the head there, too, is the continuity, right? And, now you've had players in BA's system who have been in the system for 3 years now or 2 years now. You have guys who have been in Bowles' system for 3 to 2 years now. The only new guys in the system are Giovanni Bernard, who has looked amazing, and Joe Tryon, who has looked amazing. You're not relying on Jalen Darden. Let's get that straight here. We're not relying on Jalen Darden to anything. Anything he gives the team is an added bonus. You're not relying on Robert Hainsey, unless there's an injury. So the new guys who are learning the playbook and getting assimilated to the team, Tryon's going to come as a sub rusher in certain packages, and Jalen Darden's probably going to come on the field in certain packages as well. So everybody else knows, as Gronk said, knows what they're doing. There's no thinking. There's no thinking involved other than, normal football thinking. There's not like, okay, what am I supposed to do on this route? I'm supposed to okay, this is that route. He called this cadence. Okay, this is what, all right, that's what I'm doing. Hike. And then thinking, playing the game. It's, slot 5, 9, 7. I don't know how to call a play, and you got it. You go, you run it. You run your route tree. You look at the receiver and the quarterbacks know each other now and everything like that. So it's just at the point where the offense should be clicking, and even on the defense. Todd Bowles said it the other day, about Antoine Winfield, and Antoine echoed those comments that, he wants him to play more aggressive, so to speak. There was times that he played it safe last year, and that's something that Winfield has also said. And the last 2 practices, he's almost had interceptions. Made a nice drive on the ball today to almost get an interception. And actually, Monday he did have an interception. So, I mean, you're already kind of seeing that too come to light. And we heard about it all last year. The advantage of being in Bowles' system allows us to play a little bit more freely without having to think. And now, you're fully entrenched in that where Todd can dial up his crazy stuff that he's going to dial up. Byron knows Tom, and they can dial up some great stuff as well. And, everything is kind of coming together. The question mark still is special teams, right? I mean, it didn't look that great the other day.
What the heck? And I read this and I couldn't believe it. They're trying a fake play, like a 2-point play, fake field goal, and then they don't back up, and it was a miscommunication. I mean, what happened with that whole situation? In all years of watching NFL football, I have never seen that. Explain it.
No, no one in the press box. We were like, what just happened right there? What was that about? But yeah, they wanted to go for it, and it's funny because we saw them trying some fake stuff on Thursday to practice before the game. They were lining up and doing some fake field goals, some fake field goal plays and stuff like that. So, you thought it might come during the regular season. You didn't think they were going to run it out on a preseason game, just, hey, let's have this in our back pocket. But apparently they did. Ryan Suckup didn't saw something that he didn't want to go up against or something. And instead of just letting the clock expire and moving the ball back and going for it, kicking the field goal or running the damn play, as Bruce said, they kicked it from the 2-yard line, which you can't do. The official terminology was the play was aborted. So that's what happened. Point didn't stay on the board. And that point, at a time was a deciding factor of them tying up the game or not. And it's just, what can you do? It's preseason. Get the kinks out now.
Right. The game should have been aborted. Honestly, it was just horrendous. All right, let's go out to the webheads here. Can we trade for Taysom, Griff, or I guess Taysom Hill, Griff going to the Saints? I don't think, Jason, that they're going to trade Taysom Hill for a possibility of, being their starting quarterback for Ryan Griffin. Everybody trying to get rid of Griffin, the way he played.
Afford him anyways.
Right. I mean, yeah, you're not going to be able to afford him, but Griffin, basically the odd man out, the way he played on Saturday, it was already a foregone conclusion that Kyle Trask is going to be the starting, eventually the future starting quarterback of this team. So Griffin is the odd man out, right?
Yeah, he's been the odd man out since he signed. And he knew that going back in the offseason, he knew Blaine was coming back, and he knew that they were potentially going to address the position in the draft. But, comfortability, he wants to be here. Practice squad rules are the same as last year. There's a chance he could stick around in the practice squad, but, we'll see. I know the coaching staff likes him. And if he does stay on the practice squad, he's the longest tenured Buccaneers quarterback in history. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member, thinks that the Bucs are going to hold on to him because he believes that the Cowboys or another team would pick him up to basically get intel about the Bucs. So let me go out to this really quick. All right, so we got I've been burning up the lines with you really quick. Joe Tryon, what was your initial reaction to him and the whole penalty call by the referees? Just ridiculous, right?
Bogus penalty call. As Bruce said, he was a runner. He started moving out of the pocket, but you talk about a guy who's got incredible burst and speed and bend to get around the corner. He's going to be a stud. It just, we were laughing in the press, like, how do they let this dude fall to 32? First of all, if he would have played last year instead of opting out, he probably would have been a top 10, top 15 pick. I think he just has that much explosiveness and athleticism. You've heard everybody talk, and no one's going to say anything bad about him on the team in camp or anything like that. But like when they talk about him, I mean, Nacho, who was one of the most candid guys on the field, I asked him yesterday, I was like, what have you seen out of your teammates? And he goes, on the defensive line, I'm like, just anybody, whatever. He goes, Tryon. He goes, sometimes I think I could be a first round pick. And then I look at Tryon and, that dude's special or whatever he said, something like that. But yeah, man, he's going to be a player this year as a designated pass rusher, a DPR. He's going to be great. Giving some JPP some much needed breaks and time off. And there's been some wrinkles as well where they've had all three pass rushers in the game too, creating havoc. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's deployed, but he is going to be a special player. It's just getting everything down and learning the nuances of the game. He's still a rookie, and as things progress for him and he picks up the playbook and he really starts to get everything down, I mean, he's going to be a disruptive force, I think. And, unfortunately, we're probably in the last year of JPP. I don't think they bring him back unless he comes back pretty cheap or wants to come back. But I think it's going to be Tryon and Shaq moving forward next year if everything pans out the way that we're seeing it now, because it doesn't take a football expert or someone who covers a game to see that Tryon was, winning almost every single rep he was in there for on Saturday's game, and just how impressive he looked.
All right, my friend. There you go. JC Allen, a Pewter Report. Go ahead and promote yourself, my friend.
Absolutely. My Twitter handle's right here. At JC Allen NFL. Follow me on there. Always tweeting out stuff from Pewter Report, the Bucs, pretty much your one-stop shop for Buccaneers info, whether it's the Bucs posting Pewter Report articles, whether it's coming from PFF Tampa, whatever it is, I got you covered. Players themselves, I got you covered. So one-stop shop. You don't need to follow everybody else. Just follow me. Other than that, you can catch me on pewterreport.com. I'll be on the podcast probably, I want to say Thursday. And I got tons of articles out there right now. Make sure you catch up on those, read those. We have the most comprehensive coverage on training camp there is day by day, including quotes from the players and coaches who are interviewed. Definitely go check out pewterreport.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get our followers up there as well. We're going to be having some great game day stuff going on as well. So you can flip back and forth between the Sports Web and Pewter Report TV. Other than that, I want to thank you for having me on as always. Thank all the listeners out there. Thanks, for the questions. And, your show is by far one of the most engaging between the callers, the commenters. So I want to thank you guys for, being out there and supporting Peter. And thanks for supporting me.
Absolutely. And definitely you're not going to be a stranger here on the Evolution. I want to say to your family, because I know you're going through something right now. I know that your little boy, Cannon, who I got a chance to meet and was just absolutely unbelievable kid. Get through COVID, get through being sick. I hope your family's good, man. And all my prayers are out to you and your family. All right, my friend.
Appreciate you as always.
Yep. Appreciate you too, man. All right. That's JC Allen of Pewter Report. Thanks a lot for the time here as always. And I love that little boy. I mean, honestly, met that little boy a couple of times, got a chance to talk to him when he watches my show. He can't be too bad. He's not bad at all. He's a little boy, but he's smart. He's a lot more intelligent than some of you guys out there. I'm just joking. I love you guys. I do. I love you guys.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's go out. Sean, the Sports Don. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television following JC Allen, a Pewter Report. What do you have to say, my friend?
Brother, I got some receipts, stuff I gotta unpack here.
Well, please unpack it. Unpack it, but also give me your intro, because I'm not playing it because I don't want to get copyright infringement from Facebook. I don't want to get banned. So go ahead, go for your intro. We know you're going to do it.
Well, ain't nobody dope as me. I'm just so fresh and so clean.
All right.
What up with your spider?
What's going on, my friend? Tuesday night here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television live on NSPN. And, of course, I love St. Pete. Life can't get any better than this, right? Of course it can, but we're here and now. So what do you have to say, my friend?
Well, first, one thing I want to talk about on you, and I heard you say, and you can come back at me, make sure I didn't hear it incorrectly, but you said that Brian Leftwich on his, because I saw the interview today, and you said that he scrapped it and went with what Tom Brady wanted to do.
No, I said just looking at these comments, it said from day one, I just want to see how Brady sees it.
Hold on. You're saying you're looking at the comments, but you didn't see the interview. Can I agree with that? Did you not see the interview, or are you just reading comments?
No, I seen the interview. interview.
Okay. Well, tell me your comments and tell me what you took from that. Go ahead.
What I take from it is that they came together.
Read the comments right now. Read the comments and then tell me what you took from the comments.
Okay, from day one, I just want to see how Brady sees it. We all know how good Tom is. We can't call plays until you know him. You got to know him. It took some time for me to know him, to figure him out, to know what he's going to do on paper and to know what he's going to do on the grass. And my point of contention was that, look, they didn't have a preseason. We know it. They didn't have, they didn't have a regular season like they usually have because of the pandemic. And then you have a quarterback coming into a system after 20 years of playing in one system that he knows. So, of course, I think it got better. I think they came together. It's not like the offense wasn't good. I just think they did a lot more to accommodate him, and that's the way to go. They took more of what Brady does and put it with Leftwich, and they put it together. That was my only point. What's your bone to pick with me on that?
Okay, yeah, I got a bone to pick with you on that, because if you watch the interview, Byron Leftwich, while you're 100% correct, he said, listen, as a coach, you have to know what a player can and can't do, because what someone does on paper is totally different than what they do on grass. Because obviously when the bullet starts flying, sometimes what you may think is right on paper, you may just revert back to what you normally would do on grass. And if you go back and you look at what a guy like Bruce Arians said, like remember I used to call your show early in the season. It's like, look,
wait a minute. You used to call my show. Let me go ahead. Let me go ahead and say this right here. Woo! That's right. My show.
Remember at the beginning of the season when we first had Tom Brady?
Yes. Do you remember?
Call you guys up.
Yes.
And I said, listen, you guys, like we're trying to throw to Scotty Miller on these things, and Mike Evans is open. Like, you got to get to Mike Evans. Like, Mike Evans is the guy. And I guess around about week 5, week 6, Arians brought out the point that, listen, because I think the question was posed to Arians, why isn't Mike Evans getting any more targets? And Arians said, Mike Evans is open. We just got to do a better job of getting him the ball. Okay. And everybody said, oh, well, Arians is throwing Brady under the bus. But because Brady, he reverted back to what he does on the grass, not what he saw on paper in terms of this guy should be open, because they had to teach him, and Aaron said it, we had to teach Tom Brady that, okay, we're cool with you trying to go for the 5-yard dump off and the 6-yard dump off, but you're missing a 40-yard strike. And so what happened as the season went on is Tom Brady got more comfortable with going to Mike Evans and opening him up. And by the way, around the last 5 games of the season, that's when Mike Evans actually was able to break his 1,000 yards, because he was not going to do that if we were going to continue down the path that we were on. Now, having said that, today, Byron Leftwich told you guys that we did not run different plays at bye. We ran the same damn plays. The difference was we were more efficient in terms of one, because we talked about it last time I was on your show. We didn't run the ball well. So when we were trying to do play action, it wasn't an efficient play to run, because teams were not biting on the run game because we couldn't run the ball.
I agree.
And hold on, Byron Leftwich, by the way, I think it was Jenna Lane that may have asked that question, and he started laughing in the middle of the question, and he said it. He said, you guys are talking about motion and all of that stuff. He said, we didn't change anything. We were just more efficient. He said, because when we were running those play action passes, it didn't look as good because we were not efficient at doing that.
Right.
But at the same time, once we got it after the bye, he had a better understanding of what Tom Brady does, but they didn't start implementing Tom Brady's offense.
I mean, I think that's what I kind of said. They understood.
You said, that's why I wanted to call in. You said we've started doing Tom Brady's crap. And no, they didn't. What they did was they got better. And he said, we honed in what we really could do well. And that's why Tom Brady even came back out after the season, right at the Super Bowl, actually. He told Clyde Christensen, man, we're going to be so much better next year. You know why? Because he got it now.
That's been my point of contention for the whole show.
Yeah,
they're going to be better offensively because they're being comfortable.
No, you're right. But what I'm saying is...
Say it again. Say that again, Sean, so everybody can hear it. Say it again.
No, they will be better. But what you said was we got better last year because we did what Tom Brady wanted
I
to
think
do.
it was. I think you're. Look, listen, Sean.
Okay.
Sean, listen.
All right.
I think you're right about the running game because they absolutely incorporated the running game.
No, they didn't. No.
Yes, they ran the ball more. They ran the ball more.
They got efficient. That's what. Listen, there you go. You're missing what I'm telling you.
Okay. I think it's more semantics at this point.
No. Your coach said we're more efficient at it. And he said we ran the same plays we ran in the beginning of the season, but because we were more efficient in the second half of the season. See, you can run a play. Remember, we used to run a play action with Jameis Winston all the time, but nobody was biting on that.
Because they didn't run the ball enough.
No, because we were only getting 2 yards, or we were getting
or you weren't successful. Okay, again.
Right, there you go.
Okay.
We became more successful at running the football, so now teams had to actually honor the play action fake.
I agree.
So if you can't run the ball, you can play action all the time.
It goes back to your point of execution. This is what this is all about. Once again, I want to execute. Every time you call about this, I want to execute myself. In fact, this is what I want to do when I
all I'm gonna get you guys to understand is that Bruce Arians, that no risk it, no biscuit, and BL said it today. We're still going to attack. We're still going down the field.
Oh, of course they are. Of course they're going to throw the ball down the field.
But because he said everybody that's on offense right now, except for like Brady and obviously Gronk and AD, they've been in this offense for 3 years now. He said, so we're teaching other things now. We're opening up the playbook even more now.
Sean,
and so
that's why I think they're going to be a better offense this year. They could be more dangerous.
But it's not because we're throwing up what Tom Brady did.
It's a little bit of they're compromising together. They're like you said, they're figuring out what Brady does well.
He's figuring out Tom Brady and how he fits into this offense.
Right.
He's not figuring out Tom Brady figuring out this offense and how we can be what Tom Brady has been for 20 years. Okay. He's saying, Tom Brady, come over here to our set, and you bring your knowledge and how you read defenses. That's what he had to figure out. Again, how do you look at paper, and then how you look at grass? And what happened in the first part of the season when he was on paper, of course he saw Mike Evans open. But when he got to the game, he was going to try to throw the little Scotty Miller for the first 5 weeks. I kept telling you, like, dude, that is a wrong recipe right now, because Scotty Miller coming across the middle, that's not what makes Scotty Miller Scotty Miller. That might have been Junior Elliman and the other guy that, the little white wide receiver they have that does a little
Wes
stuff in the middle. Wes Welkers of the world.
Right.
But in this offense, that's not what it's about. And he had to reprogram himself. And Bruce Arians, that's what he was saying. Like, we had to teach him. Okay, it's cool that you went for that 5-yard guy, but you know what? You missed a 40-yard guy. But that's why Gio Bernard is going to be so good, because Tom Brady still knows there's a check down here.
Of course.
And
that's
by the way,
right?
The check down is not going to be dropped this time. And because it's not going to be dropped, because Gio Bernard, he can fit in, I'm trying to go deep. And, by the way, I can't, because maybe they defended it better. Mm-hmm. But now, because Tom Brady on grass, I love to go to my check down guy. Gio's going to change the game for what this offense can be. Because we've not had this offense ever because Jameis Winston didn't want to check it down at all.
Of course
and
not.
If he did,
of course
and
not.
if he did, maybe they would drop it, or maybe it really wouldn't go anywhere because teams didn't respect our passing game from the deep and from the running game perspective. So it was you could defend it better. You can't defend this now. So now that Tom Brady understands this offense, but can still be Tom Brady and says, I love to give it to my James White. I love to give it to my Lance Burkheads. I love to give it to whoever else. That's going to change. So that's why he said I had to learn him, but they didn't change their philosophy. And BL said, we ran the same plays we was running at the beginning of the season, but we were just more efficient at it now. And oh, by the way, Tom Brady became better and understanding this offense. And guess what? I can guarantee you Tom Brady knows this offense right now inside and out. He's chomping at the bit.
I agree.
I
have nothing.
Bruce Arians' offense, not his, but Bruce Arians.
Where they're going to run some of the stuff that he likes to do, and that's what I got out of it, too.
They're going to make him stay comfortable in terms of.
That's the same thing. I'm uncomfortable with talking to you about this all the time because it's systematics.
No, it's not semantic.
It is.
We're not running the bull crap.
You say tomato and I say tomato. It's the same thing.
We're not running the bull crap offense that you ran in New England.
The point is, the bullcrap offense you ran in New England is because you didn't have the weapons to run it.
There you go.
Well, but now you have it.
The weapons,
so of
you
course,
gotta go 40 yards down the field.
Of course you do.
So his mentality is not thinking, I gotta just throw these dink and dunks. Because remember, that's what you know what? The people that used to get on Tom Brady and say his arm is gone and all he is a system quarterback because it's dink and dunk.
Correct.
Guess what? There was no dink and dunking going on after the bye. We were still going deep. That's not Tom Brady's offense. Tom Brady knows now I do have weapons. Like when you're trying to throw the ball to N'Keal Harry or whatever that dude's name was that you picked in the first round that sucks.
Right.
You can't throw the ball deep to him, but you can throw the ball deep to Chris Godwin. That's a whole different mindset. Tom Brady was not going to try to throw the ball deep to N'Keal Harry because N'Keal Harry ain't going to be able to make that play. But you know what he knows? I know that my boy Chris Godwin can make it. I know that AB can make it. And I know that Scotty Miller can make it. I know that Mike Evans can make it. And we got Darden. I know they can make it. Now he has to reprogram himself to say, I can go deep in this offense because in the offense I was playing with before, I really wasn't trying to throw the ball over 15 yards.
Which is Sean, which is why I've said this offense most likely is going to be actually better than it was last year. Okay.
But I don't agree with that we're running Tom Brady's crap. That's not what we're doing. In every offense that you have, you're going to have little short outlets and stuff like that.
Well, because does that make the quarterback comfortable? Yes. Huh? So you're running. Doesn't that make the quarterback comfortable?
That's just running a good offense. You got to have an
outlet. They're incorporating some of that, and again, I definitely think the difference between.
Always had that.
But here's the thing: the difference, and even BA told you this last year. He was letting Brady coach himself. He wasn't trying to coach him up. He was coaching himself. He was listening. They were listening. They all came together.
They let Brady coach.
Okay. So that's my point. What else do you have to unpack tonight?
Oh, no. Okay. All right. Coaching the team. Because, I'll take this with BA. BA is so funny to me, by the way. I think you guys
Love it.
have gold.
You
guys have gold there, and you don't want to listen to him. And I get, when I say y'all, I don't necessarily mean you personally.
Yeah, don't you refer to me because you haven't been watching this show.
I just mean the people that cover the Bucs. He said, you know what? We used to tell our wide receivers, the way you pumping your arms, the way you coming out of your breaks, you need to do it like this. Mm-hmm. And he said, you know what? They didn't even listen to me. But I'd say, Tom Brady, you coach. And Tom Brady tell him the same thing I told him. When you come out your break, this is how you pump your arms and do this and that. They listen to him. Don't mean they changed their offense. They just got somebody else different to tell the story or to tell the message or to teach. And that's like, Spot, I don't know about you. I'm not the smartest man in the world. So
wait a minute. You're not the smartest man in the world?
No, I'm not.
Wait a minute.
No.
Shut up!
Of course you're not.
I used to have teachers that would try to teach me math, and I swear to God, it was Charlie Brown.
Uh-huh.
Womp, 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 womp. But when I got this other
Wait a minute. You mean this? Wait a minute. Hold on a minute.
I mean, womp, 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 womp. You heard Charlie Brown teacher talk. It was womp, womp,
Consequently,
womp,
that's the phone call sometimes when you call in here, Sean. That's for sure.
But when I had a tutor that really could reach me, I heard every number. I saw every equation in my head. And sometimes while the teacher was teaching me the same thing, I couldn't grasp it. But when the tutor taught me, for some reason, I grasped it. And that's what, and BA is smart because you got a lot of these quarterbacks now. We talked about it, Rodgers or the guy from Seattle, Russell
Wilson, right.
They don't listen to me and they see Tom Brady get the cup. And oh, by the way, the Patriots didn't even listen to Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, look, that's the reason why they're in the situation they're in with Cam Newton starting quarterback last year and not having the greatest of all time. That's the reason. We've talked about this on this show for since last year. It's all about a relationship. It's all about being with somebody and basically taking them for granted. And that player saying, you know what? I'm going to stick my neck out there on the line. I'm going to do everything I can to help this team out, get players. And they don't even support him. And basically, he got wined and dined and wooed, if you will, by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he decided to come down here. Yes.
What you know about the wooed?
I know all about the wooed on this show, my friend. All about it. Yes.
Wooed.
Yes.
I love the wooed
yes.
of the master. So
I try to
wooed of the master?
I wooed all the people, all the web heads here, and all the ladies watching this show. Hopefully they are watching.
Okay.
All right, what else you want to unpack? Yes, I am. Of course I'm crazy, man. Of course. That's why my co-host from my will you shut up and be quiet? How about this?
Shut up!
All right, so my former co-host here, Mr. Sean, the Sports Dom from a radio station in a galaxy far, far away. What else do you want to unpack tonight, my friend?
Man, I just want to unpack the fact that, guys, we are in a situation here. You guys also talked about being undefeated. Let's throw that bull crap out. Remember?
Look, I'm just saying, there's everything that's stacked in line for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Maybe the stars align. Look, I get it. It's tough. It's the National Football League, but you look at this schedule. Look at the schedule. Look at the division. Who on this schedule really scares you at this point? Be honest.
Okay.
How many teams?
Okay. It's not about who scares me.
I understand that.
Hold on. Okay, but here's the thing. Remember when we first signed Tom Brady? I think I called your show again. You could probably play your little woo-woo again.
Yes, I can. Yes, you did. You called my show. There you go. Exactly, my show.
And there was somebody that called up and said, the Bucs going to go undefeated. And I said, hey, listen here, man. I will bet you my house. Now, I'm not going to do that this year, but I will bet you $200. I'm not
taking no bet because I know how tough it is.
But
I will say that mindset. Here's what my point was. The mindset for Tom Brady after he had the year he had, after coming off the surgery, after being comfortable, after carrying over the momentum, after looking at the schedule and the division. Of course, I get it. It's the goal. But I feel like, in the back of his head and in the back of this team's head, not only offensively, but defensively, they legitimately, they could definitely run the table here. I mean, let's face it.
I don't know if the goal is to be undefeated because, I look at it when I was growing up. I saw the Bears go 15-1. I saw the 49ers
Who they lose to, by the way?
Dolphins. They lost to the Dolphins.
Why is that significant? Why is that significant, by the way?
I know why it's significant.
Well, tell me, why is it significant?
Because the Dolphins was the last team to go undefeated.
And what year?
72?
Yes, sir.
Right.
72.
So
Very
listen,
good.
Okay,
Very good.
Wait a minute. Stop trying to give me some bull crap pop quiz. I know what I'm talking about. But let me just finish it up. I saw teams go 14-2. 49ers go 14-2. I've seen teams go 13-3. I saw the Broncos go 14-2 and win the Super Bowl. Listen, your goal is to win the Super Bowl. the Bucs, now that you got 17 games, and you act like the Rams couldn't possibly beat us when we play them. Oh, they could very well be. I'm not that I'm scared of them, but that's a good team right
I'm not
there.
saying it's not. Buffalo,
okay,
you got Philadelphia on Thursday nights. I get it. You got some challenges.
I ain't worried about Philly.
Not on the Thursday night game?
No, Philly sucks right
now. Well, Philly stinks, but I'm saying, we thought the Bears weren't. Wait a minute. We thought the Bears weren't good last year on Thursday Night Football, and they came back and beat them up.
The Bears were good. They had a great defense. They knew they were going to possibly make the playoffs.
Defensively, offensively, suck.
But they're a playoff team because the Bucs have been a good playoff team in their defense.
Yeah, the only reason why the Bears were a playoff team last year is because they let extra teams in. Now, come on, let's tell it like it is.
No.
Yeah,
but again, we got to play the Dolphins this year. The Dolphins has a great defense.
They have a great defense. What about Tua? Can he play quarterback?
You just talked about the Buffalo Bills. I'm telling you again, the Patriots are going to be, I don't care who the quarterback's going to be, they're going to be good. They get a lot of their defensive players back that set out, and you've added a lot of players from free agency, defensive-wise and offensively, that's going to be good. We're going to have to play the coach, who, by the way, if you get back the quarterback, by the time we play him, could very well be a formidable team.
He may get hurt getting out of bed. Okay, this guy can't stay healthy. He can't stay healthy. So enough of the Carson Wentz can stay healthy and all this other.
My point is, that's a very good built football team as it relates to a whole. So if you even put a backup back there, you could possibly win because their defense is good and they have offensive weapons around them. They have a great offensive line. So to just say the Bucs are going to roll out the doggone football and go undefeated is crazy. And oh, by the way, when quiet as it kept, that NFC East, I know nobody want to give the Giants any kind of love, but the Giants had a good defense last year. They added to that defense, and they've added to the offense. They get put wide receivers and stuff like that. They may be a good team because we only beat them by like 3-4 points last year. So I'm telling you, just running the table is not going to be like that. Let me just temper the fans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes, Mr. Pessimistic.
No, it's not pessimistic. We don't need to be worried about going undefeated. We just need to worry about making sure we get to the playoffs.
Of course.
And win the game. And
win the game. I agree with you on that, but my point of contention.
I think the Bucs are still the top.
And I think the Bucs are great. How about that?
Ooh, yeah. That's all we need to worry about. Can we get to the Super Bowl again? Yes, this team can get to the Super Bowl again. But if we talking about crying about because we didn't go defeated, what's going to happen, and we don't go undefeated. Y'all going to be sitting up here acting like it's a problem to lose to the Rams.
Listen here. I didn't say, you stop it. You stop it right now. You be quiet. How about that?
Shut up!
Listen to me, okay? I'm not crying about being undefeated. I said the possibility, of course, it always exists with a football team, but I think there's more of a probability, and I think there's a lot of people out there looking at this team and saying, you know what? Who can beat them with all the returning starters, with everything that's happened in the offseason, with the schedule being as it is, and we don't know from year after year who's going to be the surprise team. I'm just saying the probability to me is a little bit more than it was last year. Is that fair?
I think who we're playing this year, the teams that we know we're playing.
Okay.
I think a lot of those teams, like again, the Rams, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Patriots, all those teams are well enough or good enough to beat us on any given Sunday. Let's not forget that.
I agree. My favorite football movie of all time, Any Given Sunday.
Okay, so I think that's why going undefeated. Let's not worry. But I don't know why we're putting that in the atmosphere because I don't need.
Because that's what I do on my show. What else do you want from? What do you want from me? What else?
I don't want that. That's what I don't want.
You don't want that.
I don't want my players to be worried about.
So how many wins are you thinking right now? I know I'm going to ask you this again.
I told you before, like 13.
Okay.
Is
13-4.
Yeah, that should be that should be the barometer right there.
Okay.
13-4.
So not 14-3, not 15-2. You don't think that's a possibility?
No, that's definitely a possibility.
Okay, then.
But I'm saying
that's
13,
my point. That's my point.
Yeah, but that's not 17-0 though. But I'm saying 13-4. You're still a team that's possibly could win a Super Bowl. And no matter if you got to play in a conference championship on the road, you can go in there and win that game. 13-4 tells me you're a good team. If this team go 10-7 or 9-8 or something like that, then that's a bad year. 13 wins, that should be like a no-brainer. But I can throw out just 4 games. Like you said, we don't know who's going to be that sleeper team that
Right.
comes up and be good.
Correct.
But there are 4 teams on this schedule that I can say if the Bucs lost them for whatever reason, I'm not going to say they're not Super Bowl contenders because they lost to the Rams or because they lost to the Bills or because they lost to the Patriots, because you know that team, that Patriots crowd and that team is going to be amped, and they may just win it because they feel good. And they may only win 8-9 games.
What's the date of that game, by the way? I just want to remind you.
It's the 4th week of the season.
What's the date of it though? Why is it significant? It's
Come on,
October
man.
3rd, my friend. I want my
shoot.
birthday gift. That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
then,
How about that?
then, like I told you, I'm gonna get you what I got you last year, brother.
Yeah, that's worthless right there. You know what? That's what you get. All right, Sean, the Sports Tom. What else you got to say?
Man, well, those are the things I had to unpack because I heard your last interview, so I was like, I got to jump on. I wasn't going to jump on here tonight, but I had to jump on because of what you talked about.
Well,
So
I'm glad you jumped on. I'm glad you jumped on and stayed
Yes,
on
I'm
and
glad I
made some
did.
points, as always. Okay.
Now, if you got something for me, I would definitely come at you because I know you always have great questions and stuff like that. So I would definitely.
I'm not talking about.
I will say this. I will
Right.
give you this though.
Right. Give me it.
See. Last time we talked about Dak Prescott, and I told you, and you was like, "Well, it came back." I guess what has happened now that he'll be able to throw a little bit, and he's going to throw and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see how that goes down, how that plays out.
You know, he has a shoulder strain, and I was watching something the other day, and it's an injury that really never goes away. Honestly, to think about this, if he's already suffering from a shoulder strain, do you think this could be an ongoing injury throughout the year? To me, I think it is, and I think it's a foreshadowing of things to come.
Well, you know, and that'll be for this year, it will be so problematic obviously for the Cowboys.
Right.
Because, you know, and what I was hearing too today, that the type of injury he has is more of a baseball injury kind of the way it is down the back of his side and things. So that's concerning because a quarterback really doesn't do those different type of pitches or throws because, you know, you just throw it kind of one way. So for him to have that type of injury, a baseball type of injury, it's concerning in a way. But again, the MRI came back okay. They're going to try to ramp him up. And we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, you don't want to, if you're a Cowboys fan, you do not want to start your first game of the season against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that defense.
Nope. You sure don't.
You really don't want to have to do that. So I'm interested. So these next 2 weeks, brother, is going to be vital. If he's out there and he's throwing the football and his zip on that ball during the practice, they'll be okay starting week 1. In terms of as the rest of the season goes on, not necessarily they'll win week 1, but as the rest of the season goes on. If he does not get to throw live reps, and I'm talking about not during just like warm-up sessions, but I'm talking about in practice, throwing balls, trying to get that timing down. If he can't do that, and we're leading up to week 1, and he hasn't done that, then the Cowboys will be dumb as hell to put him out there against that Buccaneer defense. So this is going to be real interesting to see what happens with Dak Prescott moving forward, bro. It's going to be real interesting because you don't want to put him out there if he hasn't had real live reps to throw the ball and fit the ball in tight windows and going up against the grave digger. You that's just going to be a recipe for disaster.
Agree. Absolutely agree. Good stuff, Sean, the Sports Don. Anything else here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television?
Man, I mean, not unless you got a question for me, but if you don't, then I just tell you, man, step your game up and stop throwing out that bull crap for the fans.
Will you shut up and be
Shut up!
All right, Sean, the Sports Don. Appreciate your boss. All right.
Yeah, bro. Love you, bro.
Love you
Have
too,
a good
man.
one, man.
All right, man.
By the way, man,
Yes.
I heard you talking to your last guest, man. Is this his kid or what?
Yeah, his little boy. I'm trying to think how old he is. About 5 or 6 years old. Great kid. Dealing with COVID right now. Hopefully he's getting better. Just sending my prayers out to him and his family.
Man. Me
Allen.
too, man. Me
Absolutely.
too, man. This thing is crazy out there, man. You guys stay safe out there. I know. Listen, I'm not going to sit up here and get on the soapbox and tell you to get a vaccine, not get a vaccine, or whatever, because I know everybody do it maybe for political beliefs. I would say, please don't do it for political beliefs. But I know you got religious beliefs, you got possibly health beliefs why you don't do it or whatnot. If you do it or you don't do it, either way, you gotta stay safe, man, and make sure you're doing the things you can do to stay safe, because this thing is serious out there. I hate to see a little 5-year-old having this, because I have seen it. I've seen, the things that happen. And listen, we don't need to lose our loved ones based off us being knuckleheads or being stupidity or not doing what we're supposed to do to stay safe. Just stay safe, man. Just stay safe, man. And make sure also, make sure you love the ones that you know and tell them you love them, because we don't know, tomorrow's not promised to us, man. We just saw Mark Cook leave out of here, and none of us was prepared for that. Let them know you love them, man, and tell your last guest, man, that from Sean the Sports Don, that his son is in my prayer, because I don't want to see that from a young 5-year-old.
Good stuff as always, man. You got class here, and of course, we do the woo-it on here on the Sports Web. Appreciate you, brother.
Woo-it by the master. Woo-it. I didn't know you know nothing about that.
Of course I do, man. Come on, I always shock you. I mean, you didn't think I was going to be a hip-hop DJ, and I surprised you on that. You didn't think I was a sports announcer, and I surprised you on that. Just keep on tuning in. I'll surprise you again.
Hey, you ain't nobody. You ain't nobody.
You shut up and be quiet.
Shut up!
All right, man. Love you.
All right, brother.
All right,
yes,
man.
sir.
See you. All right, there you go. Sean the Sports Don. Yeah, always a joy, honestly. And I know we got somebody calling in here, so let's see what they have to say as people want to call into the evolution of sports talk television. And yes, it's almost 3 hours, but that's what we do here. Mr. Roger Shue, the tribal troll from Newport Richie, what do you have to say? You're on the Sports Web.
Hey, what's going on, man? Great show so far.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Sean the Sports Don. No, you are Sean the Sports Done. You just ramble on and on. I've been trying to call for a half an hour.
Wow. Oh, well, shots fired there. Let me go ahead and fire the cannons for that. Although, I think we kind of enjoy Sean and sometimes his rambles, but to me, it was kind of semantics there, what he was talking about. He was trying to accuse me of. Okay. All right. I was just checking.
Totally was.
All right, tribal troll. What else?
Yeah, good show. Bucs are going to go. I'm going to go like you predicted. I'm going with you on it, man.
What, 13-4, 14-2?
I'm
14-3. Excuse me.
You predicted it last year. I'm going with you this year.
All right, my friend. Well, let me go ahead and give you a Ric Flair woo right there. And of course,
even though I'm the travel troll, I'm still going to go with the football god, Peter Blake.
All right, man. I appreciate you, Roger Shue, my tribal troll out in Newport Richie. And I know you're a wrestling fan. How much are you looking forward to seeing CM Punk on Friday night in AEW?
It's going to be the biggest event in wrestling history.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Love you, brother. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon. All right? There you go.
For JK, brother.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. Roger Shue, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you. It's always nice to hear from friends. It's always nice to hear from webheads that want to talk to you about sports, no matter what it is. Football, baseball, basketball. We don't really talk soccer here. We do talk wrestling. We do talk college football here on NSPN, and I Love St. Pete. Again, open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to Ben Cornett. Yeah, that special teams play was bad. I'll chalk that up as Arians having a senior moment. Either that or someone like Tom Moore told Bruce, hey, on that PAT, BA, what if? Ben Cornett says Ryan Griffin should never complain about his career. When it's all said and done, he's gotten an honest decade's pay for honest 3 plays of work. I mean, he's a backup. That's his job. It's probably one of the best jobs in the National Football League. Who knows? I think the kid will be moving on. The guy, he's not a kid, but I think the guy will be moving on eventually because of drafting Kyle Trask in the second round. But yeah, being a backup quarterback, you're usually the most popular player to the fans because when the starting quarterback messes up, then you get a chance to start. Unfortunately for Ryan Griffin and other backups in the past, unless Tom Brady gets hurt, knock on wood, you've got no chance. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let me go out to Jason. Tryon was awesome. Can't wait to see him in the future and what he can do. Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend SC. So you think we should bring back Dirk Cutter? No, I do not.
Shut up!
I just love that soundbite. Thank you very much, Mr. Billy Madison, Adam Sandler. Great stuff as always, JC. Absolutely killed it. Thank you, JC. He'll be on here more and more. Prayers to the JC family. Absolutely. I will never sell out to Pewter Report Sports Web forever. Thank you, Troy Polamalu, King Troy. Appreciate you. Absolutely. But they do a fine job. They've covered the Bucs for a long time, so I'm going to give them respect. I am, but I appreciate you being a loyal webhead here. Fill your pimp cup. Sean the Sports Don is in the house. I like that, so I'll give you a woo on that. Good stuff. Let me go ahead and go out to Ben. Did Sean just say, get the paper and the grass? He would know something about that. Sean the Sports Non, or as we call him when he disappeared from the sports web, Sean the Sports Gone. Bucs time 12. Laugh out loud. JCA asked that nacho question. That is the new quote going around. Roger Shue, the tribal troll. Sean, please retire. I'll look at Twitter. Roger Shue again. This is why he's the former co-host. Love Sean, man. He's definitely great for the evolution of sports talk television. Christopher Cole, 18-2, but I would love 20-0. That's about luck. Right there. Tell you what, let's go ahead and get out to BA again and have him talk about a certain veteran who I heard nothing but complaints when he was signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think now BA kind of tells you what this veteran player really brings to the party here on the evolution of sports talk television. Enjoy.
And his leadership. I mean, teaching guys how to handle themselves. He's helped Vita a ton with his diet and things like that. And Sue's a lot like Brady. He knows how to take care of his body. He's got a regimen, and he talked me into it when we signed him. And then the way he plays, I'm not changing his regimen. That's for sure. He knows he knows how to get himself ready for Sundays. And Sue's one of those guys that he's going to answer the bell every time. You just get him there.
All right. So there you go. That was BA today on the effects of Ndamukong Suh. Perish the thought, guys, because all we heard was when Gerald McCoy, and good luck to Gerald McCoy with the Raiders. Good luck to him. But all we heard was how McCoy was a great leader and Ndamukong Suh wasn't a great leader, this and that and the other thing. And lo and behold, the Buccaneer organization knows what the hell they're doing by getting a Suh because he can work with Avea, because he can get Vita with his diet and help him out with that. Because he is that veteran presence that all the fans said, you know what? He's not a veteran presence. He's dirty. He's a dirty football player. How good has Suh been on this defensive line? How good? How good is this defensive line with Ndamukong Suh and Avea stopping the run? Being number one versus the run. All you heard was fans saying, you know what? Suh's not much of a leader. So there you go. I thought that was interesting. Let's go out to NFL.com. They were ranking the top 6 defenses. I wasn't going to do top 5, but top 6. I'll give the Washington football team, which is ranked number 6, excuse me. It's getting late. I'm obsessed with Chase Young. He was great in year 1, and this is from Adam Shine, earning Defensive Rookie of the Year honors with 7.5 sacks and a host of splash plays. But his 2021 campaign is going to be next level. Washington invested first-round picks on the D-line in 4 straight drafts, and now the football team is reaping the benefits, perhaps boasting the best defensive front in football. So why is the Washington football team defense only ranked 6th on this list? Well, the back 7 isn't nearly as opposing as the front 4. That said, those players will benefit greatly from Young and company wrecking games up front, and it's not like the back two levels of the defense are devoid of talent. First rounder Jermaine Davis is an athletic marvel at linebacker, and he's been a trendy pick in the offseason for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Seeing safety Landon Collins play in Washington's preseason opener just 9 months after tearing his Achilles was quite encouraging, and you can do much worse than the starting quarterback duo of William Jackson and Kendall Fuller. We talked about Washington. They're going to be on this Buccaneers schedule. Of course, a lot of Bucs fans remember that first playoff game, wild card game, how that Washington defense did give I don't necessarily think the defense. I think the offensive line did a good job of shutting them down, especially Young after all the trash talk during the week. But we know that was a close game, and now adding a Ryan Fitzpatrick and that defense with the second year with Ron Rivera, we know that they're only going to improve. So that would be one of the teams that I would worry about, especially in that NFC East. Let's go to number 5 with the Cleveland Browns. With the 17th game added to the regular season, I don't even need of immense to predict Myles Garrett will break Michael Strahan's single-season record of 22.5 sacks. Wow. Really? I mean, and you look at the talent here. First overall pick, Jadeveon Clowney. See, here's the thing. Everybody gets, they fall in love with the whole notion of having Myles Garrett on one side and Jadeveon Clowney on the other. The problem is Clowney didn't play in any games last year, didn't have any sacks. So I get it. The potential is there. Can he do that with the Cleveland Browns? I'm not sure. Remains to be seen. But you have Malik Jackson, the defensive tackle, Anthony Walker, linebacker, Troy Hill, cornerback, and a favorite signing of all, John Johnson. Rams lost a lot there. And again, you look at the drafts of Greg Newsome II and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, hope I got his name right, added in the draft, and that makes people excited about this team, as they should be. And on offense, you have Baker Mayfield and Kareem Hunt. And, of course, Nick Chubb looking like he's going to get a contract extension if he hasn't already got it. So that's the top 5. You go to 4, you got Baltimore. Of course, all the talk is always on Lamar Jackson. It's always on the running backs and everything like that. But you look at their defense, Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams, and Derek Wolfe. Matt Judon and Yannick Ngakoue departed, but he still has them ranked at number 4. Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters as your back end. They are always making hay, and they play in one of the toughest divisions in football with the Pittsburgh Steelers and, of course, the Cleveland Browns. So, of course, and I think Cincinnati's, if Joe Burrow is going to be healthy, then who knows? But you definitely have to have a tough defense, and that's what Shine is saying about the Baltimore Ravens. Now, with the Colts, he says he absolutely loves them because of Darius Leonard, who is the highest paid inside linebacker in league history. Bucs fans, watch out for that, because if Leonard is highly paid, then more than likely look at that contract. Whatever Devin White does here in the next few years, he'll be able to match it or overtake it. And, of course, in the middle, you have DeForest Buckner, a defensive tackle. Kwity Paye, who they got out of Michigan. And Xavier Rhodes is a cornerback. So they could definitely make some definitely something to write home about. The problem with the Colts, of course, when we're just talking about defense, is their offense with Carson Wentz being hurt. So they're ranked number 3. That would be the Colts, and the Ravens rank number 4. Number 2, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is what he has to say. Todd Bowles is a fantastic defensive coordinator. Incredible tools to work with Tampa. General Manager Jason Light gave the Bucs a fantastic opportunity to repeat as Super Bowl champs by keeping the band together, including re-upping sack artist Shaq Barrett and defensive heartbeat Levante David. We saw that the other night with the Colts fumble. We've seen that throughout his career. Where is the weakness in this unit? Vita Vea, Ndamukong Suh, William Golston, who we don't talk about enough on this show, who does a hell of a job, who's done a hell of a job the last couple of years, being once again one of the anchors on that defensive line, stopping the run. And again, with Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, and impressive rookie Joe Tryon, get after the passer. On the second level, you have David and Devin White, comprise a spectacular linebacking duo, and the Bucs are flush with young rapidly improving talent in the secondary. That's your number 2 defense. Who's your number 1 defense? Well, that would be the LA Rams, which at this point, a lot of people believe that they are the Super Bowl favorite this year because of Matt Stafford. But again, it comes down to Stafford staying healthy. But of course, it always goes back to defense for the Rams, and it starts with Aaron Donald. It's his world, and we're just living in it. Did I mention he's been Defensive Player of the Year 3 of the past 4 seasons? And of course, you have Jalen Ramsey at corner, NFL's best cornerback, while his running mate Darius Williams just posted PFF's 9th highest cornerback coverage grade last season, and safety Jordan Fuller. Of course, they had their losses with John Johnson, who we talked about, went to Cleveland, and they are ran by which defensive coordinator and former Tampa Bay Buccaneer head coach, Raheem Morris. So that is going to be a matchup that you watch early. In fact, the 3rd game of the season right there with the LA Rams. And of course, it's going to be in LA. So we're going to see how that all works out. But interesting list there. Tampa Bay, of course, number 2, Rams number 1. Who doesn't think that the Rams are one of the top teams in the NFC? They can be, but once again, it comes back to what? Matt Stafford staying healthy and finding some semblance of a running game. So with that being said, let's go ahead and wrap it up for the night. Thanks to our great guest, Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News, of course, JC Allen of Pewter Report, and of course, all the phone calls. We'll be back this week sometime, maybe Thursday, maybe a pregame show. You guys deserve it. Keep on tuning in to the evolution of sports talk television on NSPN. And I love St. Pete, of course. If sports media is going to evolve, it has to have an evolution, and this is what you're watching right now. Do 3 things for me early on this Wednesday morning. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night.
Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.